What up, nerds? Welcome to another gargantuan episode of Straight Chilling, the weekly horror movie review show where you chill and we kill, slice, dice, and chop up yet another horror movie. My name's Bob. I'll be your host for this evening. This is episode number 313, recorded on Sunday, April 4th, 2021. Tonight, we're going to be talking about the latest and greatest, Godzilla vs. Kong. Before we get into it, let me introduce everyone else on the show. First up, calling in from Washington, D.C., we got our boy Randy Gandy G. Landy. What's up, man?
Mush mush.
Mush mush. What's going on, everybody?
Mush.
Ready to talk about the fucking battle of the century here? I'm excited.
My boy Mushmouth Randy on the mic.
Mush.
Very excited.
Yeah, okay, sure. Add it to the list. The never-ending list of nicknames continues.
Battle of the Titans. Randy, real quick, which one did you think was going to come out on top before you watched it?
I thought that they were going to come to mutual respect and terms, as these things tend to do in big blockbuster movies of the sort. Yeah.
Safe bet. Next up, calling in from Jacksonville, Florida, we got our boy Soju. What's up, man?
What up, it's your boy Gargantua Stains.
That's a big stain.
I'm helping introduce.
When you
our
got a
guest here.
gargantua stain, call Soju. He'll clean it right the fuck up.
The biggest stain you ever did see.
He'll suck that fucking stain right out of you.
Just put some Fabuloso, a little bit of lemon juice, gets it right out.
A little bit of elbow grease, guys.
Justin's
Something
got a
our
damn-
generation knows nothing about, of course.
He's got that Hoover mouth and just suck it right out.
Randy got excited about that.
I'm drinking my Monster Energy drink to be appropriate, so I'm a little bit amped at the moment.
Ah, damn! I left my Dr. Pepper. That would be even more apt for Godzilla.
What would?
Dr. Pepper.
Dr. Pepper. Killing it. Last but not least, that beautiful voice you're hearing right now is our good friend Chris from GargantuaCast. Welcome back, dude. It's great to have you again.
Been a long ass time.
Yeah, it has been too long, as we have discussed.
Yeah, it was blowing my mind that it was 2 years ago that we covered. We were talking. You're on Shin Godzilla was the last one, but also in this shared universe, the Kong King of the
King of the Monsters.
Yeah, Godzilla King of the Monsters.
Oh, wait, King of the Monsters, yes.
Yeah, and we did
King of the
those.
Monsters.
We did those two like pretty close, almost not quite back to back, maybe like 10 shows apart or so.
Yeah.
And then it's like 2 full years since we've had you on since, which is crazy because, I don't know, time is a flat circle. It's a record. It's a vinyl, whatever. I don't know how it works. But it's great to have you on, man.
It is very bizarre indeed.
Sorry it's been so damn long. Real quick, do you want to remind everybody, all the listeners, where they can find your great show, GargantuaCast?
Yes. So if you guys just venture wherever you're listening to the podcast right now, you can, whenever you're done, just with this episode, just go on the search bar, look up GargantuaCast, and we are our bi-weekly podcast. We cover giant monster movies, kaiju, tokusatsu, your Power Rangers, your Ultramans. We cover just general monster movies, and we do it with humor and insight. So not only you're getting a laugh, but you're actually learning something.
Nice.
See, there's
I
a
you guys
reason
covered Ultraman.
Ultramang!
We're covering Ultramang later this year.
Whoa.
Oh, hell yeah.
Wink, wink, for the 55th anniversary.
Nice.
All right. We're so glad that you're here for any of our Godzilla episodes because we can't get the fucking titles right, as we just proved. So we need all the help we can get.
I thought this was going to be a sequel to that Broderick Godzilla film.
The good one.
The good one. The best one.
Bob's
Godzilla,
favorite.
Broderick returns.
Broderick vs. Kong. Yeah, I'd watch it. Before we do get into the review, let's tackle some housekeeping really quickly. Our April poll pick over on our Patreon website has officially closed. However, for the first time ever, it was a tie. So we had a tie
Thanks,
between
G-Baby. Shouts out to G-Baby.
G-Baby fucked us. Fucked us over real good. Invasion of the Body Snatchers from 1978 tied with The Wicker Man from 1973. So what we're going to do as a solution to that is we're going to post a tiebreaker poll on our Patreon website. So if you support us at the $5 level or above, you get to vote between just those two movies. And then the poll is only going to be on Patreon for 3 days. So that's going to be Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday of this week. Get your votes in before the end of day Thursday, and then we'll find out who the winner is and announce that on Friday of this week. So Invasion of the Body Snatchers and The Wicker Man, and if they tie again, like we're just gonna fucking pick. So hopefully that
I was literally about to say like, what if there's another tie?
Yeah.
They just they do it to spite you guys. It's like one of those things like balances like Thanos with the goddamn like knife.
Well, in this case, the balance would be just giving us the power that they paid for. True. So I don't know how that would help them.
But also, there were still, it was either 3 or 5 votes for Troll 2. So it wasn't an even number. If all those people changed their vote,
right,
it would have swung one way. So hopefully everybody gets on there. Get your vote.
Look, one way or the other, we're watching one of these goddamn movies.
Sure,
and you guys can help us find out which one.
True.
Get on there. We're gonna drop it on the 6th, right? This Tuesday.
Yeah. So this
Tuesday,
the 6th, 7th, and 8th of April.
Yeah.
Get your votes in.
3 days only.
Yep. And in addition to that, since it's a new month, we have a new poll pick. We got our May poll pick posted on our Patreon website. The theme for May is going to be alternative aliens, and this is my little takeover month.
Bob!
Yeah.
We're going to get erected.
We are
gonna Bobs.
How those numbers looking, Bob? And tell us what you picked and why. What's going on here?
Yeah, so I went with weird alien movies. So the 3 movies you can vote between are going to be Killer Clowns from Outer Space.
Yes.
Mac and Me.
Oh my God.
And Rocky Horror Picture Show.
Okay.
I guess you offset the lack of horror in Mac and Me with a movie with the actual word horror in the title.
It all balances out.
Mac and Me is a horror film.
Yeah, tell him, Chris.
All right. I didn't know you had those kind of feelings about McDonald's, man. That's not on me.
The true horror is the grease in those burgers.
The true horror is that scrotum alien. That's the true horror.
He does throw a child off a cliff, as I recall, but we'll get to it.
And that kid rolls and rolls and rolls. But yeah, so far, Killer Clowns is winning handily. Mac and Me only has a couple votes, and Rocky Horror is sort of middling, so we'll see.
Okay.
Yeah, get your votes in before the end of April, and we'll see what we're going to be talking about this May. That's all we got as far as Patreon. Do you have any new news, Juice?
Yeah, so actually coming up this Tuesday is a new Top 5 Tuesday. That is YouTube exclusive content. So if you didn't know, we have a YouTube channel as well where you can get some exclusive content as well as this regular podcast. That's at youtube.com/Straight Chilling Podcast. And actually, so a little surprise even to me, I had a theme picked out and I've been working on, and then I did a swerve because this movie came out and I was already watching some Godzillas to get ready for this. And then our buddy shouts out Miles on our Slack channel. He watched every Godzilla movie in preparation for this one and ranked them. And it got me really curious.
Like a professional.
Oh God, yes, come with me.
Yeah, so I started watching some Godzilla films and I was even talking to him privately on the Slack. And so now
privately,
oh yes.
Don't go grooming our Slack channel people.
Now, what tier
right?
do you have to subscribe to on Patreon to speak with you privately?
Oh well,
how much does that cost?
That's an exclusive tier.
How much is your address?
Miles is sliding into those personal DMs, those real life DMs.
So this Tuesday, it's going to be my top 5 Godzilla films. So of course, I haven't watched them all, but one thing I have been trying to do is at least trying to get at least one from each decade in, which has been really fun because that was one of my favorite things from the original Godzilla we watched last summer is the time capsule portion of it is what was going on back then. So I've been knocking out at least one per decade, and I was already watching some of the newer ones in preparation for the movie we're talking about today. So that should be a curious little list that's coming up. That's coming out on Tuesday.
Nice.
All right. Guess that means I'll judge you on Tuesday.
Yeah, you can. I am looking forward to that.
Get the cross ready. You're about to be crucified, bitch.
Chris just lays into our YouTube. This fucking poser over here doesn't know.
It would be so funny if this was the final straw and people finally turned on us and canceled our asses over fucking the Godzilla ranking. May it be so.
This is where the great division happens.
I'll just say, my people are kind of fucking terrible at times. So be careful.
Dude, we're in the horror genre. We know what's up. This shit can happen.
I don't know. I think it's mostly loving, acceptable.
Well, no, I guess I should say we're nerds at all.
Yeah, that's better.
That's really more what I'm getting at, actually.
Yeah.
No one hates nerds more than other nerds.
Oh my God, that's so true.
Nerd on
that
nerd
so
hate.
True.
I hate it.
We're here to bring the nerd on nerd love, people. All right, let's make it happen.
Yep.
But that's,
Soju's already halfway there with Miles.
Nerds, fucking nerds.
That's my house is clean. That's
it. Well, our houses are collectively clean.
This house is clean.
I'm on my game today.
Professional.
You are. I love it.
This monster's fucking with me.
Let's go ahead and get into the main event. We're talking Godzilla vs. Kong, and we're kicking it off with the back of the box.
What's on the back of the box?
All right. Brand new movie. This just dropped on HBO Max as well as in the theaters. It's one of those fancy little day and date releases that HBO is doing with Paramount or whoever.
Warner Brothers.
Warner Brothers. Thank you. That's who it is. So we got more of these to look forward to throughout the course of the year. The plot synopsis for this is as follows. The epic next chapter in the cinematic Monsterverse pits two of the greatest icons in motion picture history against one another. The fearsome Godzilla and the mighty Kong, with humanity caught in the balance. This was directed by our good friend Adam Wingard, starring Alexander Skarsgard, Millie Bobby Brown, some other folks.
Our personal friend, Adam.
Close personal friend, Adam Wingard.
Personally.
Yes.
He's in Juice's DMs. Those juicy DMs.
Miles and Adam Wingard. Those are the people I message the most.
We're kind of revealing our cards that Soju is our honeypot for all things.
It's going to cost you.
Before this movie came out, before they dropped trailers for it and shit, I remember Miles would send us like screen caps of him directly asking like Adam Wingard to like slide him the trailer on the DL. Like, yo, dog, just let me get that trailer real quick. I promise I won't share it. Like,
understandably, considering the fact this movie's been delayed like 5 goddamn times.
Yeah.
Like, it almost like became a meme amongst the kaiju fans where this movie didn't exist. Like, it's never coming out. It was just like a fever dream.
They never made it.
Hey,
it's
man,
all a lie.
if the Snyder cut can happen, this shit better fucking happen.
Yeah.
Obviously, this is the first time watch for all of us because it's a brand new movie. Let's go ahead and real quick, just blanket statement. Would you fellers recommend this? Yes or no? Randy, why don't you kick us off, man?
Yeah, I'd recommend it. I'm not like steeped in Godzilla knowledge, as is very evident by everything that I will say about this film. But yeah, I think it's exactly what was promised, and I'll get into its deficiencies and its good parts and all that sort of thing later. But I would say if you see the name Godzilla versus Kong and think, well, that sounds interesting, then you'll probably get what you paid for.
Right on. Chris, what about you, man?
I very much recommend it. Yes. I recommend it more as how I recommend the Avengers films for Marvel fans, where this movie is a victory lap of the Monsterverse. It's not meant to be deep. It's just meant to be like, hey, you've been enjoying these films. Just see, here we go. Like, just have like a complete, every like fire on all cylinders kaiju film. And while I would, a night like a deeper story would be nice, this film is trying to be just a fun summer blockbuster. And in this time of pandemic, it's kind of needed just to be a dumb fun movie. And yeah, I recommend it. Like, yeah, it's definitely not the best of the Monsterverse for sure, but it's definitely probably the most entertaining and most mainstream pleasing.
Gotcha. All right. Juice, what about you?
I saw where it made a shit ton of money this weekend because, again, like Chris said, the pandemic, and that really is the biggest, I think, selling factor for this movie. If it weren't for that, if it were just in a vacuum, I would say, it's worth throwing on HBO Max. Maybe you don't need to go to the theater, but the pandemic really makes it kind of a special situation.
Yeah.
Because it is fun for a theater type movie, and not being able to go for so long plays a huge factor in that. So, I mean, I can completely understand that. And we went and saw it in the theater, the drive-in. But,
nice.
But if it was in a vacuum, I would say like more that this is a movie to throw on HBO Max if seemingly you already have it. And so it's easy to stream and free, but not to go to the theaters. But obviously this is a special situation. I could understand wanting to go to the theaters, and if that's the situation, then this movie delivers in some ways, but not a strong recommend from me. Just based on the movie's value. Yeah. So Bob, how about you?
It's a good start.
Check. There we go. Let's cover me?
Okay, there we go.
Yeah, I kind of vibe with you on that, Juice. I think I would recommend it if you have HBO Max. I don't know that I'd really recommend spending like $10 to $15 to run out to the movie theater to watch it, unless you just want to get out. Like if you're tired of sitting in the house, you want to get out, that's fine. I understand that for sure. It's a spectacle. It's a popcorn movie. Big monsters, bright lights on screen. But yeah, for me personally, I'd probably just chill at the house, watch on HBO Max. Yeah, decent recommend all around. Let's go ahead and drop that spoiler warning, as this is a brand new movie. We're going to get into it. Here we go.
Spoiler warning.
You've been warned.
Godzilla won.
Godzilla did win, yes.
I guess he did.
Oh, he won. He won.
He stomped some ass, but like they're both alive, I guess.
Just because you're
nobody
alive
died.
doesn't mean you win.
Yeah.
Evander Holyfield's alive too.
It's not like boxing where you have to beat the guy to death to win.
That's true. That's a fair statement.
No, I think there's a money shot of Kong lying in rubble. So I mean,
Money shot.
that's when Godzilla's like, nope, this guy's fucked, and walks away. That's a pretty clear indication.
There's like the scene where he was like, "Get back here! I'm not. Fuck! I'm done."
Yeah. Yeah. On the 1-to-1, Kong lost for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. But Kong won in terms of scripting, I think, because he definitely got the most. He was the emotional core of this movie.
Oh yeah,
more than any human was.
Main character. Yeah.
Yeah, this is almost like a sequel to Kong Skull Island in like
guest starring Godzilla
sense.
Yeah, kind of. Yeah.
I wish they would have done a little bit more with Godzilla, like to give him a little more personality. But at the same time, I liked him as a counterpoint to Kong because in the first Godzilla movie in this universe, that was a disaster movie. He's a natural disaster walking through cities. Like he is a living natural disaster. So
and in the second movie, he was basically kaiju Jesus.
yeah.
So, and not to mention, Kong only has one movie in the Monsterverse, and Godzilla has two. So Godzilla kind of has more character development for a kaiju. So I think Kong kind of needed a lot of catch up. So while I, being Team Godzilla, I would want more Godzilla. I am completely understanding for Kong being the central. Same how in the original 1962 film, Kong was kind of the protagonist kaiju and Godzilla was the antagonist. So they could have just taken some cues from that original film.
Yeah. I didn't know that. I didn't realize that he was positioned the same way in the original.
Yeah.
Did they also go into the center of the earth in the original?
Nope.
So what? This movie's sort of all over the place plot wise, and it was confusing and baffling to me. Yeah, in a lot of places, but also I feel like they're probably referencing a lot of earlier movies that I just haven't seen. So I'm fairly ignorant to most of the earlier Godzilla films, but like, is that plot device of like journeying to the center of the earth because that's like where the Titans hail from? Like a theme throughout the original Godzilla movies?
No, it's from what I've gathered ever since Skull Island, that's when that film dropped that like little bit of the Hollow Earth. It's just basically incorporating, a lot of Jules Verne weird fiction, kind of like the weird Tarzan, those Tarzan pulp magazines. They just wanted to add that because, it's kind of like a throwback to all those old, like especially with Kong Skull Island. Like not only it's a love letter to Vietnam films. It's a goddamn Kong movie. It's also a love letter to all those like Doug McClure, Mystery Island.
Yeah,
at
the
Earth's
there's even
core.
the OG, like not the Brendan Fraser, but Journey to the Center of the Earth. We were actually talking about that at the movie theater, like when we were watching it. And I actually that's a movie I actually grew up with. It's like from the 50s or 40s
really?
Or something. It's super old, and I actually really like it. I never actually saw the Brendan Fraser one, but I didn't realize that wasn't. I didn't realize that wasn't part of the kaiju lore either, and that. Yeah, it's something we're going to talk about. I was kind of surprised, pleased, because I think it'll make it better for the discussion. But to me, this movie, I was let down from even a blockbuster standpoint, especially coming off the high of King of Monsters. That to me, like, so my biggest beef with that one was the battles looked amazing and they were plentiful, and it was the slog of the human element in between, and yet somehow this one scales back on the battles and adds more it's even, to me, the human element and story of this one is even so much worse and more plentiful in this film, and it dragged it fucking down.
Really?
See, I didn't have that impression at all. Like, this is yeah. It's for me. This is like, so I think I agree that, like, to me the worst part of King of the Monsters was the human element, because they were like in like I said in Godzilla 2014, that was positioned as a natural disaster movie that human beings are reacting to. King of the Monsters, on the other hand, started bringing in, it sort of like brought in the silly aspects and tried to like make them more serious, which is great. And the battles were great and all that stuff, but it's trying to use people with the same level of emotional weight that they had in a disaster movie, and it just didn't really play for me. It made them, it was just like, no, get these people off screen. I don't care what Eleven thinks about all this shit. And in this movie, it felt like that was scaled down for me, and it was like they were more cartoonish people as well as the cartoonish situation that they're in. So to me, it was like it blended a little better, and I didn't see it as more plentiful. Chris, I'm cutting you off. Sorry.
No, it's fine. And the thing with the fights is, it may seem like not as much, but in fairness, King of the Monsters has, 4 title monsters along with, some of the background monsters. Yeah. While this film is Godzilla, Kong, and because of spoilers, Mechagodzilla. Yeah. So, and the thing is, I appreciate about this film, I still prefer King of the Monsters a lot more. I think King of the Monsters as a more of the I actually enjoyed the human characters on a second watch, as well as it actually has something to say about, climate change and, bringing elements from the original Godzilla films, while this is just more or less kind of just embracing the silly. Like, if King of the Monsters is a good modern version of the 60s era's Godzilla films, this is a modern version of the 70s, where the 70s was more of that silly, that's where Godzilla did the drop kick, fought the, Hedorah, the poop monster, Jet Jaguar,
I gotta
his
watch
existence.
Jet Jaguar.
And and I think I do appreciate about this film a lot more is it's a celebration, like it's a victory lap. Like, hey, you've been here so far. Let's just see Godzilla and Kong beat the hell out of each other. As well as I do appreciate once Godzilla and Kong start fighting, they allowed the film to let them have their fight. We barely cut back. And
I disagree with that strongly, actually, because, and one of the reasons I do is because we watched it in theaters, and at the time we were like pretty blown away at how much they were spending on the people. And so much so that right before we casted this, we had to go back and we were like, we had to rewatch the first 15 to 20 minutes just to really kind of get our bearings for what the people were actually doing and their motivations. And then we actually went through and was like, okay, when did they fight for the first time? Which is around the 40-minute mark. And this is about a 2-hour movie. And then they don't see each other again until the last 30 minutes. They have about a 5-minute fight scene where Kong kind of comes out on top, and then they flash to the big bad guy giving his big speech. Then they flash back and they have about another 3-minute battle scene where Godzilla ultimately wins, and then about the last 10 minutes is the fight with the Mechagodzilla. And out of a 2-hour movie, that's about maybe 20 minutes worth of kaijus battling, and the rest of it, literally, this is my biggest problem again with the people element, people experiencing just wild sci-fi bullshit and just telling you what's happening. Oh my god, we're experiencing gravity shift and here it is. Oh my god, there's radiation in the ground and there's a rock. Oh my god, it's just that on top of that constantly. I hated it. I hated that explaining.
Well, you're explaining that
sci-fi bullshit is happening again and again and again and again.
Well, I'm not to speak to the exposition dialogue because there was that, and I feel pretty confident that that's a stock standard thing for any kaiju movie for the most part.
For a lot of the entire most of the genre, there is exposition, but I will say some of it worked. I feel like a lot of stuff with Kong, Kong definitely had the stronger story element, and I feel honestly, if there's one thing about the human characters, I will adamantly say, I think we will all agree on this, the human villains fucking suck.
True.
Yeah.
Especially the Ren Serizawa, the Japanese henchman, who is name dropped and is supposed to be related to Ken Watanabe's character from the last movie. He's supposed to be his son.
That's what I said.
Mm-hmm. But apparently a lot of stuff got cut from this movie. Okay. So expect a release a Wingard cut in the next month or so.
Well, I was saying I asked Bob, I was like, because they name drop, he was like Sarah's, and I was like, wait a second. I was like, is that guy related? Did we miss a piece of dialogue? Like when we were watching in theater, he's like, I don't know. I was like,
you didn't miss it. It got cut.
Yeah,
that's wild.
Okay. Well, and then to go back to the amount of fight scenes between Kong, the way you were describing that, Justin, you described that correctly. Like that is when they fight, but that is far from the only action in this movie. This is an action fucking packed movie.
Really?
Yeah.
Because Kong fights the war bats. The giant.
Godzilla destroys like 4 cities in this fucking thing.
Yeah.
I mean, I remember Godzilla in the first shot we see. So again, I'm like,
fucks up Pensacola
real
real
nice.
nice.
Pensacola.
Florida man fucked up big time.
Finally bit off more than he could chew.
Here's where I thought they fucked up too. And I kind of realized this when we rewatched it right before the cast. So the first kind of big scene we get is Godzilla fucking that up, and that's okay. I like that. But the problem with that is they're almost taking this position like Godzilla's the villain and we don't know about Mechagodzilla yet. And King Kong is, kind of like the one we're supposed to kind of root for a little bit from humanity's standpoint. Like he's the
because
savior.
He looks like us. We have human bias.
Yeah, but where I felt that they fucked up with that is from the very beginning. They set this company up to be super shady, and you see like a robot eye from the very beginning, and I felt like that took any kind of surprise away that there was going to be this twist away from that. I was like,
did you clock that as an eye on first sight? Because I sure didn't.
Or like a robot.
I know what it was.
I just thought it was a power orb.
I thought it was, when I first saw the film, I saw this film 3 times. I saw it in theaters once, and then I saw it twice on HBO Max. When I first saw the film, I thought it was actually the dumbass Ghidorah's brain. Because they have his head, but it turns it's an eye. It's the eye.
Is it? Okay. That's just
I figured that out at the end.
Okay,
I didn't see it as an eye. For me, it looked like just a MacGuffin of some kind, some sort of powerful thing.
I guess my point is the whole 11 story point is like there's this podcaster and he's like going on about this conspiracy. Well, also to me, it just hurt the idea that maybe Godzilla is a bad guy because this company is so shady from the beginning, and you see like this robot portion, and they explain it to you. They explain the twist within the first 10 minutes. Literally, the podcast guy is like, Godzilla would only attack an apex predator, and that's all he attacked. If they just left it like, oh, he attacked Pensacola, and you're like, fuck, Godzilla is fucking people up, and like didn't focus on that it's this shady company, and then gave you that reveal like at the end, then it's like, oh, that's more of some kind of twist.
See, my perspective is Kong's story is Kong needs a new home because his house is getting flooded.
Which they didn't explain really very well.
Godzilla's story, the way I saw it, is he got framed basically, like, or the public thinks he got framed. So Millie 11 and Diet Black Alex Jones have to team up and make sure Godzilla, like, clear Godzilla's name. And I feel like that's one of my biggest issues is the Godzilla side of the story, not Godzilla himself. I actually think all the stuff with Godzilla himself is really, really cool because, one, I'm actually glad we get to see a multi-million-dollar destroyer Godzilla. A Godzilla who is, humans. I've been this close. I've been letting global warming slide. I've been letting, you digging, drilling slide. You nuking me in the last movie and slide, but you're going to make a mecha of me. That's it. So Godzilla, actually being aggressive and kind of like his old school, like, roots where he was a destroyer. That's really, really goddamn cool. And I actually really enjoy the Kong side a lot more, especially, God, I forgot her name, but the girl, I feel like the girl herself, I actually really enjoy, the podcaster guy. Cause I actually really enjoy his character in terms of, like, he's actually funny.
He is funny, yeah.
So I didn't find him funny personally, but go on.
I like that actor a lot, man. And I also like to add that, like, a podcaster basically saves the world in this movie. So let's go ahead and acknowledge that, please.
Maybe. Putting on your big boy britches, huh, bud?
Yep, you know it.
Rob, you know it wouldn't be you.
But, get the fuck out of here.
But I will say Kong definitely has a really good emotional story central with him and the little girl. And I feel like that little girl kind of should get nominated for an Oscar because, one, she actually is deaf.
Yeah, actually, that was a bit of trivia. She's from a family, like, her entire family's deaf.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah, like she was it, like, not to be mean because, like, I can hear some asshole typing is like, oh, the best actor is the one who doesn't talk. But one, fuck you.
She really did have like the emotional weight that nothing else did. Like, if there was any kind of emotional anchor, it was her. I personally was confused and thought that, like, the idea of, they kind of explain it. We picked up a little bit more on our second watch, but the idea that, like, Kong's home, he can't stay there. We even on our second watch, we were confused because they have this containment center. And they're keeping, it says, like, somewhere on Skull Island. And it turns out that the containment center is on Skull Island. But they briefly just mention, like, oh, we fucked up his home. He can't stay here. But as soon but they say as soon as he leaves, Godzilla's going to fuck him up. So their first decision is to take him off the island and put him on a boat. They literally say the sentence, as soon as he leaves, Godzilla's going to come after him.
And then they take Chris, jump in there. You're going to have to be aggressive on this one.
In Skull Island, they explained that around Skull Island is that giant perpetual hurricane.
Yeah.
And apparently, it wasn't really explained 100% well, but this is what I gathered, that storm was getting close, was getting bigger around the island and started flooding it. And the whole thing is Kong's home is getting smaller and smaller and smaller, and he's getting bigger and bigger and bigger. Okay. So he's getting too big for his home.
Well, and why did they build the Truman Show dome over the top of him?
So he doesn't get flooded.
So he's hitting the water out?
Or from Godzilla.
So why did they say, because there's a statement that's made, and I thought because it's almost like they were like, this was confusing too, like they work for Monarch or there's like a couple different companies. They work for a company, and the lady specifically says, and this is the only hint that I got. So I watched Skull Island like one time when it first came out. I haven't seen it since, so I didn't pick up on the hurricane aspect, but she says, we're ruining his home. Is it like just a general like global warming is ruining his home? But I thought it was the company was ruining his home.
I think it's just one of those things where I didn't pick up the we thing. They were just saying his home was being unstable because of the hurricane just getting bigger and bigger and taking up, his home. And the whole thing of like, if he leaves, Godzilla is going to, hunt him to the ends of the earth. It's just because Godzilla is the king. He's the alpha.
Yeah.
And if he smells like another alpha, he's like, I gotta show dominance. It's kind of like animals.
I understand that.
That's the thing. Logic. That's the thing that I clung to with that is like I didn't notice the flooding thing so much. Like that did bypass me. Like I want to touch on that though because it's interesting that you both have problems with the too much exposition and not enough exposition at the same time.
Well, I feel
like
it didn't make I guess that's the first thing we're kind of stuck with from Kong, and it didn't. The logic of it, with as much shit as they explain in this about a hollow Earth, about gravity, about radiation in the ground, about like all of these so many things,
the underground super tunnel between Pensacola and Tokyo,
talk
Hong
about,
Kong.
yeah, and a power source. Like there's like at least 10 things I think that they have to explain in this film. Fucking psychic kaijus and like drifting with them. They steal so much shit, by the way, in this film. But of all the things that they have to explain, their main motivation for Kong should be one that I'm able to understand, and I don't.
It's just Kong's home is getting flooded.
Kong needs a home.
He needs a home, and his home's not going well.
They hit that hammer pretty hard, like the whole movie.
I didn't think so, though, because and even on the second watch, it almost seemed more of like a lie to get him to get what they wanted. I didn't, I guess, get the urgency that he really he needs a home. It more was like, I need this from Kong. I need Kong to like escort us to get this power source. So that's what I'm gonna say.
Well, I guess the whole thing is maybe it's just, some things were over-explained and some things were under-explained. So I guess I gotta be, I gotta translate this movie. So
you don't have to answer for the movie at all. We're just trying to make sense.
Use sign language. I hear that works.
Yeah. So TLDR, Kong's home. Kong needs a new home. He can't. He doesn't have enough insurance money for his house. And it's just like, here's the thing: if he needs a new home, problem. It's not like he can, find one anywhere. So they're going to have to transport him. So Apex like, hey, you have a shitty situation. So we're going to, capitalists being capitalists, they're going to take advantage of a shitty situation for their own benefit. So that's what I got.
For me, it was... Sorry, Rob, go ahead.
I was saying it felt kind of like there was a group of scientists that definitely had Kong's best interest at heart, and then there was evil Apex that were like, yeah, we'll supply you with all the equipment to get him to his new home, and then when you get there, we're gonna bam steal exactly what we need, which is like some of the soil or whatever that's super powerful.
Right, and that's really all you need for this movie to make sense to me. Like, I don't know, like that. I want to go back. I mean, I guess Justin's getting a drink, but there was something that we were talking about earlier where it's like the idea that Godzilla, like the whole story with the podcasters and all that stuff and the amount of action or whatever, like he destroys that shit. And to me, I didn't notice the eyeball or anything like that. But as time goes on, like there's that fight, and then there's the fight like on the ships. There's like all these things happening, and then everything in between that's happening between the girl and Kong is working for me. You know what I mean? Yeah. Because that's bringing the humanity to things. The only thing that's not working for me is like overall is the Stranger Things vibe going on with Eleven and the Alex Jones personality.
I have made several jokes throughout when they were like hitting. Now it's just like, wow, I can't wait for Stranger Things season 4.
I can't wait.
It really felt like they even played like music cues that were similar to the fucking intro to Stranger Things at one point. Yeah, and they're driving around in a fucking very 70s 80s van and shit. Like this is very. That's on the nose for what they're doing.
Adam Wingard's preference, though. I don't know that has anything to do with Millie Bobby Brown. The music.
It might not. It might not. But I'm just saying that's the vibe it's putting off, especially because they're surrounded by neon all the time.
Because what's funny is with the podcaster is when he was first introduced, I couldn't stand him. Mm-hmm. But I feel like as it went on, I feel like. Especially with the whole stuff with him breaking in, I was enjoying him more. I think basically I was on board with the Godzilla the Stranger Things story once Mechagodzilla was introduced, because I like the whole they're paying off stuff from Kingdom Monsters, the Ghidorah head, the skull. I was cool to see the skull crawlers again from Skull Island. Yeah, that was cool. And Mechagodzilla's introduction was pretty fucking cool.
I thought so too, man. Those are. Go ahead, Bob.
I wanted to ask Chris a question, because I don't know how many different iterations of Mechagodzilla there are, but like, how did the design of this one compare to there are 5? So how did the design of this one hold up to the other 5? Did you like it all right, or was it?
I like it just fine. It feels like overall this feels very much like a Mechagodzilla that will be made in this universe. Mm-hmm. You know, it almost kind of feels like a prototype. You know, this thing was, you know, it's still like, this is not my favorite Mechagodzilla, but it's definitely not the worst. I will say, because there's the original Mechagodzilla, the classic, that's my second favorite. Then there's the 90s one, which is, I say is below the Monsterverse one. You know, it looks like if Apple made a Mechagodzilla so clean and point. Then there was my favorite Mechagodzilla, Kiryu, which is literally made from the bones of the original Godzilla that died. And then there's the anime trilogy, aka we're only going to show Mechagodzilla on a poster, and the rest of the movie he's a fucking giant 3D printer.
What? That's crazy.
So
I don't know, man.
And then there's the one. Oh, go ahead.
And then there's the one from Ready Player One, which looks cool, but that movie sucks dick.
Can I get one more clarification since we're talking about Mechagodzilla? So this is something we were like mentioning when we were watching it again our second time. And so at the first 10 minutes, and I see, I picked it up as an I, so that's what I just assumed it was. But so Godzilla destroys Pensacola, and there's an I there, and they specifically say that he attacks Pensacola because there is a like alpha there, or a threat there, you know?
Yeah.
And even when the guy breaks in and hacks the system, they say like, oh, on level 33 or whatever. And so, okay, there was at least some form of Mechagodzilla there at that place. So did they make two Mechagodzillas?
So, no. So remember, he saw the eye, and then when it went back, the eye was gone. So what I was guessing was they were testing it, and the signal they used to test it, which is the Ghidorah brainwaves and all that stuff.
Okay.
You know, Godzilla sensed it because kaiju senses.
Okay.
His Godzilla sense was tingling. So he's like, he went to check because he's like, you know, he felt a threat. And
well, if he was just a robot, that would be fine with me. Like, that explanation would be fine. The problem I guess I have with that explanation, why I was confused, again, is because they throw another element where I think they're ripping off Pacific Rim, where then they have to explain that Ghidorahs had 3 heads and they all communicated telepathically. And now we have built this whole system where this guy that we didn't explain is related to the other guy is going to like drift. I'm going to use the Pacific Rim term.
Yeah.
Drift with this Mechagodzilla, and that's how we're going to control him. So, okay, and they specifically have a head there in Hong Kong. So it's like, how are they
Do you think this company can't move stuff?
Well, no, but Godzilla destroyed the facility. So how do they have?
Well, they were probably like maybe testing it, and it's very clear that Mechagodzilla doesn't need to be in the building to activate. Like what's the point of him being at Hong Kong if he can't, move out of if he doesn't have a really great Wi-Fi range?
Yeah, I
don't know.
So it's also just it's sci-fi bullshit.
Right, and that's the thing that, like, I don't know. I think I don't know. To me,
that's why I say
this stuck in the weeds.
That's why I say this film is like a throwback to the 70s films, where those films are dumb as fucking hell for the most part, but they are fun dumb. There are different types of kaiju movies. There are the thoughtful ones. There's the ones that are like classic monster movies, and then there's the one that is just like, grab a bunch of beers, get some friends, get some popcorn, and have a good time. And I will say the whole drifting things. In fairness, Pacific Rim took that element from Evangelion.
Okay,
like, as well as in several Godzilla films. Especially with Mechagodzilla, there are psychics that have to control him. Hell, the whole this, I don't know if this is an Easter egg or not, or this is probably one of the deepest fucking cuts of all time. So, time to teach you guys stuff.
Yeah.
Please.
So in the 90s Godzilla films, the Heisei era, Mechagodzilla was built from the remains of Mecha King Ghidorah, who was sent from the future to attack Godzilla. In the manga adaptation of that movie, there's a plot twist where the remnants of Mecha King Ghidorah took over Mechagodzilla and it went rogue. So
there you go.
Either this is one gigantic coincidence, or Adam Wingard did so much homework that he got mega extra credit.
And see, like, let me add to that, because in my mind, this from the uninformed perspective for me, I saw the Pacific Rim connection, like you guys did, but in my mind, it was like not really a fuck you, but it's more of like a, nah, this is the real shit. You know, we're not going to have humans controlling our shit. You know, we like, to me, that had that ring of like, oh, you try and control this shit, the apex predators, you try and create an apex predator, you're going to fail, and this thing's going to turn on you because that shit is not the real kaiju. To me, it just kind of had that ring, and that might just be entirely in my mind.
Pacific Rim too, they couldn't actually drift with them. It made that dude insane.
I guess I don't remember that movie well enough. Then that must
Charlie Day. Yeah, he went nuts, became the bad guy
in Pacific Rim Uprising.
Yeah.
But I want to go back to this idea that, like, I don't know. To me, Godzilla was painted the correct light for this movie. He needed to have. Yeah. Sorry, go ahead, Chris.
He technically was the good guy all along. He was right.
Well, that's the thing, is like, I don't see Godzilla, like, I think my favorite version of Godzilla in like, I like Godzilla 2014 probably better than any of the other movies in the century, because I like the idea of the human interaction with that. That's why I like Shin Godzilla as well a lot more than some of the other Godzillas. That's just what I'm partial to.
Yeah, so, I'm partial for like anti-hero Godzilla.
Yeah, so like, yeah, exactly. He's not a hero. He's not a hero. He is a character who is responding to very innate instincts, and he's a force of nature. Whereas Kong has a direct human connection in this movie that separates him from that and creates something that we relate to as human beings, and that gives us a somewhat of a villain hero situation. But of course, by the end, it is what we expected, which is that he's not inherently evil. And like Justin was saying, what he figured out early that I guess I didn't see was the eyeball thing or whatever, and figure out what the plan was. But like, clearly something is provoking Godzilla, because he doesn't attack willy-nilly. He attacks apex other predators of his size, other kaiju. So to me, it was like, okay, so this is like Tywin Lannister's back in this movie, and he's, you know, using the Ghidorah head. Is it Ghidorah? Ghidorah. Okay. So he's using Ghidorah's head to provoke Godzilla to attack, so that he can then like turn the governments of the world against him, and he can introduce Mecha Ghidorah. That's what I was expecting to happen through the movie.
Okay, see, that makes that I kind of like that idea.
But he was written out of the movie, or like just didn't want to be in it or whatever. So, and this other Apex company or whatever took over that role. And to me, like, it doesn't. I like seeing Kong, the character who we've never seen destroy a city, because he was only in one movie and he was only destroying monsters and fighting with people that wanted to kill him on his own private island. So he's already positioned as a hero in comparison, whereas Godzilla is just something that traipses through wherever he needs to fucking trape through to kill whoever he wants to fucking kill, because that's what he does. So to have them paired against each other on that level made perfect fucking sense to me, and to have that spurred on and have Kong brought into the fray entirely because they feel like they could control this more human creature, that made a lot of sense to me, and it earned enough goodwill for me to carry me throughout the movie. And I also think that, like, if they had pushed too hard on the Godzilla as a villain, like if they had truly like given no indication that he was just fucking shit up to do it, and just let you believe that, I think there would have been some character assassination talk amongst the kaiju fans.
I think it's also just to help the whole like Team Godzilla, Team Kong.
Right.
It's kind of hard to be on Team Godzilla if he went full blown like Shin Godzilla, or like, you know, Godzilla from the original film, full on bad guy Godzilla.
And
that's exactly what I'm getting at. And
that's not even my problem. I like that what happened with Godzilla isn't the problem I have. The problem I have is writing. So
no, fair, fair.
Why are you even going to like tease the idea that Godzilla is the bad guy when you are literally going to tell me the plot twist in the first 10 minutes? Like, a scene happens where you're supposed to think, oh God, you know, Godzilla is destroying Pensacola. And then the podcaster literally tells you the twist that's supposed to happen at the end of the movie. Like, that's poor. That's just poor script writing, in my opinion.
And I thought it was going to be something different than what he was describing. That's why I thought that it was like Tywin, because I thought it was like he was describing something that was just off from what it actually was.
Yeah, again,
and to that end, that would have been
maybe.
Yeah, I enjoyed the. No, you're fine. I will adamantly say the worst thing about this movie are the human villains.
They're human characters for me.
Well, the Kong characters I actually got behind for the most part.
Yeah, I didn't much like Skarsgård, but the other, like, what's her name, and
Rebecca Hall, that's the little girl. They did a capable job, and I really enjoy Millie Bobby Brown. It's just I feel like it was not very Godzilla's story was very anemic. So yeah, and I just hate the human villains. And again, like I feel like this film is one of those things where it feels like a complete the most American blockbuster of a Godzilla film for good and for ill. Because it feels like a lot of people compare this to a Bayformers film. I wouldn't even be that fucking low.
Bayformers. I've never heard that term before.
Really?
I'm a big fan of that. Yeah.
You never heard of the term people describe the Michael Bay Transformers films as Bayformers?
No, I have not.
This entire 20 years of modern Hollywood, and you never heard that before.
Man, that's the best thing to come from those movies for sure.
That I got a lot of Michael Bay out of this though too. Like,
what's funny, I actually got more of James Wan from the Fast and Furious films, a lot more.
I haven't seen those.
Yeah, I haven't seen it.
But to me, it's like this movie is definitely going for big. This is one of those rare movies where I feel like writing backwards is the way to go, and because you want the final showdown, you want to give the fans like a big battle and then an even bigger battle with a unifying villain. That's what clearly has to happen. So to start at that endpoint and write backwards to a situation where, okay, so how do we get these pawns into place? Yeah. I don't really care how you do that in this case, because the name of this fucking movie is Godzilla versus Kong. It has this is totally different to me than a just straight Godzilla movie or a straight Kong movie, because it needs to show fan service to two different factions of fans while also giving you enough action to go on, and to me it does both those things fabulously.
No, it's so weird because I agree with you. I agree with that statement almost like 100%, and yet when you have a movie that's Kong versus Godzilla and their first fight isn't until 40 minutes and it lasts about 3 to 5 minutes, and then they don't meet again until the last.
But they're on screen
minutes.
A lot more than just the fight. Like they're on screen doing
because if you're not showing them on screen, then you're fucking up. But I don't know. It did not deliver the promise of Kong versus Godzilla to me. It didn't.
What?
I don't.
It
think
literally
so.
did.
I don't like. Especially, and here's the problem too. I was saying I watched 2014. I watched King of the Monsters again, and and I agree actually with Chris. Chris was saying that upon watching King of the Monsters again, the human element didn't bother me as much as it did originally.
Total
I remember
opposite.
that was my biggest beef. It's still the worst part of that movie. But one big difference I think that's between these movies is Michael Dougherty is just a better director. I think even the shots that he sets up for his kaiju fights, there's more of them. You have Rodan and Ghidorah and stuff like that. He just scales them better. He just does.
So Dougherty I feel like what Ringard and Dougherty took two different directions for how they did the films, and basically Godzilla King of the Monsters is supposed to be kind of like Spielberg. 2014 is very early Spielberg, Jaws, Close Encounters, and I feel King of the Monsters is 90s era Spielberg's, your Jurassic Park, where he had the magic
the scale.
Yeah, you're supposed to be wonder of these creatures.
Those shots where Ghidorah is on the top of the volcano, and it's so scaled out. You're so far away from the actual volcano, and yet his size still takes up a majority of the screen. You're like, oh my God, that thing is so big, even though it's just CGI bullshit. In this movie, it literally he's up in these monsters' faces constantly. It's so personal, and there's no scale or weight to them. I thought it was it was Transformers level to me.
So
the CGI.
I feel this is kind of like a double-edged sword for the fights in GVK. I feel while they were much faster and the scaling may be a little bit off, I feel that one thing they added is they gave a little bit more emotion, because Godzilla is fucking mean in this movie. And I feel like it makes the fights a lot more Godzilla is fuck, basically like, I'm going to fucking kill you if you don't submit. So you kind of like, there's a bit of like that emotional weight to it where, especially the end fight where Kong is literally like crawling back, as Godzilla is like biting his face, biting his feet, slicing at his chest. And then you just they're screaming at each other's face. It adds that emotional like element where this fight feels a lot more like, oh, this is not like, a boxing match. It's just like kind of like the fight in They Live, or where they're just like beating the ever-loving. It's a brawl. It's like a bar fight. A very nasty bar fight.
I like that interpretation. And to me, I get what you're saying, Soju. And King of the Monsters is one that I haven't watched since we originally reviewed it. It's not as fresh on the brain for me.
That's why I say it's a double-edged sword, where one element takes over, where the other element gets, and depending on which edge of the sword you're on, either it cuts or it's a blunt edge.
There you go. I don't know, man. To me, this is like, whereas, you've got... It's different. It's just different different styles, different cooks in the kitchen, and I think it might be just up to preference. Too many cooks in
this fucking kitchen. Oh boy, Randy done flipped upside down.
We're going all range mode.
It's the ghost from Host.
Yeah, this script just screams like there was 40 people who are trying to write it at the same time. Like, I don't know how many passes.
Because Doherty had it.
King of the Monster felt that way to me.
Yeah, he did. King of the Monsters did have... Yeah, it felt that way too, but this feels more jumbled and all over the place, in my opinion.
I will say it feels a lot got cut from this film.
Yeah.
Rewatching it. That's why even though Wingard says, oh, there's not going to be a director's cut, I'm just like... Warner Brothers is going to release a goddamn Ultimate Edition Blu-ray. They're going to do it. They did it with Batman v Superman.
Really, to a point. To a goddamn point. Like, fuck you, Warner Brothers. Listen to this podcast and listen to me say, fuck you, Warner Brothers. Because, like, now with the whole Snyder Cut, it's like, you motherfuckers, let one goddamn person write the script and leave it alone. Leave it alone.
It doesn't help.
People have to tell you little shit to fucking let a writer write it.
Well, I would normally say this is a little silly, but clearly they respond to this sort of behavior. So,
I agree with Bob, and Bob actually was dropping some knowledge that Wingard gave an interview and was even hesitant. And I hate to kind of give him a little cut. I think Michael Dougherty is an amazing director, and anything he's released, I absolutely love. So I just love his style in general. So that's fair. That's kind of part of it too. But
that is very fair.
Wingard is he did the things I like. That he did The Guest and You're Next. They're these very small, not big blockbuster things.
Blair Witch.
But Bob was saying that he was given an interview and sounded very hesitant and was like, I'm excited it's coming out, but did kind of drop this it kind of went through a shit ton of script rewrites and people had their hands in it and people were fucking with him, and it's what do you expect, Warner Brothers? You get this hodgepodge bullshit.
I will say a friend of mine who's one of our writers, she pointed out something that I will say, as much as I like this film, I really enjoy it. I'm going to give shit to Warner Brothers because multi-million-dollar film companies do not deserve sympathy. They cut a lot of people of color scenes from this movie. It's it is like Justice League all over again. How they treated Ray Fisher.
I haven't seen that either.
I don't know.
A lot of actors who were on the film are pissed that a lot of their scenes got cut.
Yeah, well, right, you're talking about you are currently referencing the the Snyder situation and Josh Whedon with the Justice League, right?
Joshua Whedon.
Josh. Right, that's what you're talking about, Chris, right? That's what you're talking about?
Yeah, how Warner Brothers and Joss Whedon cut a lot of scenes.
Yeah.
Apparently, Warner Brothers went damage control with a lot of the unfair response to King of the Monsters. And by the way, one thing that annoyed the hell out of me, there's a lot of reasons to be annoyed at modern film criticism, but the thing is, it feels like all the shit they are praising about this movie are the same shit they were complaining about King of the Monsters. So I'm just like, choose some fucking consistency, as well as a lot of content. Like, you can't. There's also a lot of praise without with condescension. Like, oh, it's a dumb monster movie. It doesn't need to be anything bigger. I'm just like, you're making my job harder now.
It doesn't need to do better. This is as good as we need it to be.
But
like, that's
to
a
me,
weak
it's like
excuse.
This like, I didn't feel what Justin felt as far as the doubling down of human characters, but I will say that they had the same effect on me for the most part as King of the Monsters, which is that I just didn't care, especially about the Stranger Things group. But also, like I would say this though, in 2 years from now, when I'm looking back on these two movies, King of the Monsters and Godzilla vs. Kong, the only human character I'm going to remember having done things is probably the little girl that talks to Kong. I'm probably not even I'm going to remember Millie Bobby Brown as in this movie, but I'm not going to remember much about what she did, except that I didn't like it very much.
King of the Monsters had that one incredible scene that trumps anything the humans do in this movie at all.
Oh,
Ken Watanabe's character.
Watanabe I remember best from the first movie.
No, you know what this movie needed? This movie needed Ken Watanabe.
Yeah. But
like, why couldn't they? Like, he died. But can you just do like a, I don't know, like
flashback
what they did
or something,
or what they did with what's his name?
Mecha Ken Watanabe.
No, I was going to say what's the guy the film nerd in Scream, who was killed in Scream 2?
Fucking Jamie Kennedy.
Yeah.
Jamie Kennedy. Just do like what they did with Jamie Kennedy in Scream 3.
Yeah, he left behind some directions or some thoughts.
Yeah,
or a diary even, really. But you want him to be on
like,
screen.
I don't know, like the podcaster guy got his, his
secret
diary
recordings or something.
I would be okay if the podcaster element of this movie was just excised completely, because to me it's like, I really don't like the idea, like, and this is my biases talking to some extent, but it's like I don't like to see the situations in movies these days being made in the current hellscape that we live in that are like, see, maybe there's onto something. They got something going here.
At the very least, fluoride. This guy is more of a, I hate companies, vibe, instead of just, gay people are the devil vibes.
Yeah.
At the very least, he's not spouting like, gay frog nonsense.
Well, they couldn't get away with that. But they got fluoride in this bitch, and that pissed me off.
I read somebody talking about this film and saying that they hated this element too, about the podcast, just the whole Millie Bobby Brown section. They were like, literally, you could cut all of it, like cut it all, even like where they're talking the villains and everything, and it wouldn't change this film. And even to the point where Mecha Godzilla like spazzes out or whatever, they're like, you can guarantee that the audience would just assume that it's like glitching because it's a machine or whatever.
It's a prototype.
They would accept that, and nothing would change from this film. If you cut that entire crew and all of their scenes from this film, it wouldn't change anything about this film.
They do appear to, like, they are essential for Mechagodzilla's actual, reveal. Because they walk into the test chamber.
Yeah, but I'm just like, if he just bursts out of a mountain or whatever, like, it would almost have the same effect.
Well, to me, it's like you could show, like, before the pre-credit sequence could be fucking the bad guys, as shitty as they are, just looking out over their fucking creation, and not show it until the last second where you see like some like that eyeball or whatever. And you'd have the same effect. To me, like, having Millie Bobby Brown is another way to tie in the franchises together, like, or the two different strains together in a stronger way, which I understand the impulse to do that, but she just serves no purpose that you couldn't serve in another way that doesn't involve fucking like the weirdo side character and the fucking podcaster. Like, none of these characters, the thing is, there's no likable character in those three characters. So I don't want to see them do anything.
Yeah, and it's not something, I mean, I understand the impulse to do it, but this is now the fourth film and they haven't done it. It's except for Serizawa. I guess that's the one who connects, 14 and 2019 one or whatever. But other than that, like, there's no connection to Skull Island. Like, there's no connection other than Serizawa.
That's because like, everyone would either be old or dead.
Well,
it wouldn't make sense for that to make. But they did bring back the skull. What are the skull spiders? Whatever they are.
Skull crawlers.
Skull crawlers. Yeah. So I mean, I agree.
It sucks because, like, in terms of sheer fun, Skull Island, number one for me of the Monsterverse is King of the Monsters. This is tied with Skull Island. I feel this has more fun than Skull Island, but Skull Island has much better characters, with Samuel Jackson, John Goodman.
Yes.
What's his name? John C. Reilly. Probably.
Oh my God, yeah.
I feel like John C. Reilly and Ken Watanabe, two of the best human actors in the entire Monsterverse.
I'll agree with that wholeheartedly. And that the human element in Skull Island is absolutely like number 2 in my mind, right next to Godzilla 2014. And that is primarily driven by Watanabe and Cranston, who
before he got killed.
Yeah, which was just kind of a bummer in and of itself. Yeah. If somehow Cranston had made it through and wasn't a dead character and they could have brought him back in this, I would have creamed my jeans.
Yeah, that would have been much better.
Fucking
they really
awesome.
fucked up. Yeah,
yeah, they fucked up. Like Bryan Cranston's death is so laughably quick that Vision is commenting on whether or not that's humor in WandaVision.
We need to land this plane, gentlemen.
Yeah.
Let's go ahead and rate Godzilla vs. Kong out of 5 stars. Chris, would you care to do us the honors and kick us off as our esteemed guest? How you feel?
So, despite its flaws, this film is very flawed. I'm just happy it exists. The last time Godzilla and Kong faced was 1962, nearly 60 years ago, and these two have been long overdue for a rematch. And just to see these two brought to life in a modern Hollywood multi-million-dollar fest, like I will eternally love the Suit Nation. I will eternally love all this stuff. But this film is just maybe it's just also I saw it in the theater, and that kind of like added to my bias, which can help a movie. If you have a good movie theater experience, that can tint your glasses. But I really enjoyed this film. I'm just happy it exists, and I'm glad it's still a success. So, and people, it at least opens to when the tides rise, all flags open up. So maybe we'll start getting more kaiju films, some better ones. I want to see not only more big blockbusters, but I want to see some of the weirder stuff. I want to see more Colossals. I want to see more Hal from Beyond the Fog. Just I just want this movie to succeed, just so we get more of this stuff. Also, so my podcast can actually have more episodes.
Hell yeah!
So 4 stars.
Oh, cool. 4 stars from Chris. Juice, how you feel?
Yeah, I think overall, everybody's about to give their scores. I did not enjoy this film as much as you guys. And one big thing too is when Skull Island first came out, I specifically remember talking about it on our podcast under what you've been watching. I think Cesar was still on at the time. And at the time, I did not care for Skull Island. I was like, man, I really didn't like this movie. And Cesar, I think in particular, was like, what? Oh man, that was such a fun movie. And I was like, I didn't. And to me, this was definitely more Skull Island than it was, King of the Monsters or even 2014. In my opinion, this is my least favorite of this universe. I would probably go at King of the Monsters, my favorite, 2014 Godzilla, Skull Island, and then this one. It just, there's too much, the juice is not worth the squeeze for me. There's too much bullshit to wade through. And I'm going to quote Bob on this. I told Alice that I would. We all watched it together. But at the point where they go into the entrance into Antarctica, which is a little past the halfway mark, and Kong is swinging through towards the middle of the earth, Bob literally is like, what the fuck is happening? And that's what I feel like 90% of this movie is. Just some of the things they have to explain. They have to explain Hollow Earth. They have to explain drifting with the kaiju. They have to explain radioactive rocks. They have to explain that Kong has to get the center of the earth. They have to explain gravity. So much just bullshit that they just have to tell you and they just somehow know. The characters in this are the worst to me of this whole entire universe. And also, I really 2 things that I can equate this to that I've we've talked about and I've experienced before. I loved King of the Monsters, and we've reviewed that, so you can go back and listen to it. But to me, these 2 films coming back to back is seriously the equivalent to either Split and Glass to me, or Pacific Rim and Pacific Rim 2. Like that. I mean, in my mind, that's how I equate these films going back to back. I did not like this movie. The only, and even we didn't really talk about it very much. I wasn't a big fan of the first fight scene where they fight on the boat. Somehow seeing Godzilla punch King Kong, the physics of this movie didn't feel right. Most of the fight scenes felt like a Transformers movie. That's what I equate it to. It had none of the physics of the last movie where it looked good, because I'm all about a kaiju fight. I'm for it. It just, this had no weight. The physics were off. The way that Wingard set these CGI shots, they don't look good to me. And the only thing that I found entertaining, I thought all of the Mechagodzilla fight scenes looked like bullshit. And the only one that I thought was pretty cool was where they're fighting in the Neon City Kong versus Godzilla, where he's got the axe. I thought that was actually pretty cool, but that is not enough for a 2-hour movie where we see two fights between Kong and Godzilla. It's not enough for me. So ultimately, I'm going to give this movie a 1.5.
Brutal 1.5 from Juice. I'm gonna slide in
you're
here.
A monster.
You're a kaiju. I'm gonna slide in here real quick. Yeah,
Bob, out of 5.
Out of 5.
Yep. Kong versus Gojira.
Gojira. I did not love this movie. I don't think I loved King of the Monsters as much as you did, Juice, but I also didn't love this movie. King of the Monsters was more successful as a blockbuster movie, as just a nice spectacle. That's where that movie succeeds, and I feel like that's where this movie should have succeeded, and it just didn't really land. When you do actually get the kaiju battle sequences, they're shot up close and personal, which I think is an interesting choice to make. He's really trying to, get you up close and personal with these monsters so that you can feel what they are feeling, so that you can identify with them and invest in their characters. He's trying to make them more fulfilled characters that are fighting, and it's just you can't really, for me, connect with giant monsters. It doesn't really work out. Maybe if the films were written better, then yeah, you could eventually get there, but they're not. They're written very, very poorly. So doing that is sort of shooting yourself in the foot, I think. It definitely would have played out a lot better if it was just more of a spectacle like the second movie was. The CG looks great. It's pretty. Some of the camera movements I think were pretty cool, actually. The way they sort of zoom through the buildings and stuff, as the monsters are leaping from skyscraper to skyscraper. I can't
wait for the Universal Studio ride.
Exactly.
Dude, it felt like that. I love that.
It felt like a pitch for a damn ride, yeah. But I thought that was pretty cool. It just needed to be peppered in with a lot of wider shots so that you can really see these guys laying waste to Hong Kong and stuff. It would have been better served. A lot of this, this crazy underground monorail system and these spacecrafts that allow you to blast through the center of the earth, and then Godzilla just blowing another hole through to the center of the earth so Kong can climb up through. And he's hanging out in this throne room that was his ancestors' throne room, and
that was cool.
He gets this hatchet that's radioactive, and then he turns the soil radioactive, and that's the power source that this Apex company knew was down there somehow and knew they needed to power up this Mechagodzilla that looks kind of whack, to be honest. It's man, it's some shitty writing for sure, and I don't put that on Adam Wingard. I think he's a very talented director.
You hear that?
I think a lot of this
are whack.
Yeah.
Oh shit.
He says
you got a little toy. Yeah. Sorry, bud. This shit's whack.
Are you calling a cootie queen, you lint liquor?
Oh wow, that's a hell of a bump. Thank you. I think a lot of the music choices were solid. A lot of the directorial choices were solid. I like the neon ass Hong Kong, that Blade Runner kind of look. I'm a sucker for that shit.
Same.
So there's some interesting ideas. Some of them are successful, but man, the fucking writing's bad. I'm gonna give this a 2 out of 5. Randy, How you feel?
I feel compelled to defend this movie to some extent. So
That's a surprise to me, to be honest, but I'm pleased.
So, like, one of the complaints lobbied was how many things they have to explain in this movie. Just from my memory of 2 years ago, here's what I remember having to be explained to me in King of the Monsters. Communication with Mothra, oxygen destroyer bombs, apex predators, eco-terrorism, psychic links between kaiju, radioactivity in the earth, which is covered in every Godzilla movie I've seen, or in this franchise, I mean. So, I mean, there's expository language going on in all of these fucking movies, the last two. And for me, King of the Monsters left so little impression outside of a few distinctive shots that I can kind of conjure up in my mind. Whereas seeing, like, there's definitely more shots in this movie that I feel like are memorable. So having the Godzilla versus Kong with the axe, having fucking Mechagodzilla holding up a fucking skull crusher. That's maybe just a personal thing because that's probably not as iconic. But having Kong touch fingers with the little girl, like, there's a lot of moments in this movie that I feel like are great shots. And I also think that things like having this weird GoPro on King Kong's chest shot was hilarious and great. I loved that. So, I mean, I feel like some of the complaints lobbied against this movie are a little bit like, I don't know. I don't think that they're that different from the movie that we got 2 years ago. I think that the major difference is just that, you know, this movie has to toe a line a little bit more because there is sort of a desire to see both of these characters come out on top, as opposed to, say, fucking Rodan. Like, for the most part, general audiences aren't going to care to see if Rodan gets his ass beat. They're not really going to give a shit.
They're actually hoping he gets his ass beat.
Yeah, okay, so there you go. So if anything, this movie has a problem where it's got two protagonists fighting each other, and so it does the thing that these kind of movies always do, which is bring in a third party for them to, like, begrudgingly mutually respect each other over beating up. And I think it worked really well. What's that? I
will say this film has a better script than Batman v Superman. There, I said it.
Okay. All right. Well, there's no Martha scene. That's the only scene I know of from that movie. I haven't seen it, but I know of the Martha scene. Anyway, they should have done a Mothra scene. Anyway, so this whole situation to me is, I feel like King of the Monsters, you have to compare all these movies in order to come to a conclusion. I gave that movie a 3. I went back and looked, and I actually wasn't on the Godzilla 2014 cast, and I don't think that we reviewed Skull Island on the cast.
I didn't. No.
Okay, I thought you said that we did, but yeah, so we didn't do that.
I just talked about it and what you've been watching.
Okay, there you go. Okay, so that all said, I think that this one is maybe my third favorite still out of the group. I think Godzilla 2014 is still my favorite because I'm partial to the human perspective on that, even if it's, you know, not the best. Like, it has its problems too, but the Cranston element took me a long, long way with that, and so did the Watanabe element. Whereas this movie kind of scales back or turns the human beings into cartoon characters, which is perfect for monsters fighting each other as opposed to a disaster movie. So I think that works. And I think Kong Skull Island was a nice insular version where they didn't have to worry about the implications of crashing into buildings filled with people. And this movie did the wise thing of just ignoring those people altogether. So I don't know. To me, this is not the best movie in the franchise by any stretch, but to me, it's better than King of the Monsters. So for that reason, I'm going to give it a 3.5.
So King of the Monsters is your least favorite in this universe?
Yes, it is.
Wow.
Yeah. I mean, that's not to say I didn't like it, because there are definitely things I like. I gave it a 3.
On opposite ends of the scale. Well, kind of. I actually like 14 too. I think me and you place it higher than the general audiences, but
that might be. But to me, it's just like this one was candy. I didn't want filet mignon. I wanted popcorn, I wanted kettle corn, I wanted sweets, and I wanted it to be bad for me, and that's what this felt like. So,
as
Randy's face behind the scene, Randy's face when he said, "I wanted it to be bad for me," he gave a little devious look. I liked it.
So,
I only have devious looks.
If there's one thing I actually appreciate about this franchise, is it's been around for over 65 years. If there's one Godzilla film that ain't for you, guess what? There's a bunch before, and there's going to be a bunch after.
Yeah, so that's fair enough. Bob, 98. That's your go-to.
That's my one. That's my one. I'm sorry. I know I hurt you, Chris. I'm sorry. With Randy's
disappointment.
Randy's astounding 3.5. That's going to put our aggregate at a 2.75 for Godzilla vs. Kong. Let's go ahead and jump into our Rotten Tomatoes segment and see what the critics and users think about GVK.
Certified.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, this is the segment of the show where I'm going to give these gentlemen a chance to guess within the best of their abilities what the aggregate scores are on Rotten Tomatoes for this film, both the critics and user score.
Hey, that was pretty good, Randy.
Well done.
Pretty good.
Getting better.
You know, it's a tough freewheeling, but every so often you get a win.
Only took 7 years, bud. Love it.
Nailed it.
Yes, 7. Has it been so long?
Almost, yeah.
God damn, really?
Yeah.
Fuck. That's nuts. Anyway, unrelated. There are 294 critic reviews counted for this movie. So I'm going to start. Let me ask you this, Chris. How aware are you of the Rotten Tomatoes scores of this? Are you?
I heard one today. I don't know how recent it is because Rotten Tomatoes can change on a goddamn second.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I'm only aware of the critics. I'm not aware of the audience. So
I'll give you the choice. If you want to abstain, if you feel like you know too much, that's up to you. I'll let you.
I feel I know too much critic side.
Okay.
I'll guess on the audience.
Gotcha. Okay, so let's start with Bob then. Bob, what do you think the 294 critics, what do you think their aggregate is out of 0 to 100?
It can't be that low. I don't think it would be. I'm going to go with a 75.
75 for Bob. All right. Soju, where are you at with this one?
You said 294 critics?
That's what it says.
That's
294 reviews.
Wow. Yeah. That's a lot.
There's not a whole lot of new movies.
Yeah, and that's what's weird about this movie is its timing. Because I think that has a huge part to play, like when it was talking about how much money it made and how many people are seeing it and stuff like that. It's weird too because it's still one of those first ones. Like, yeah, Snyder Cut got released, but that was an old movie. Like,
it would have made more money if it wasn't the pandemic. Well, hands down.
Yeah.
Well, no. That's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying it's an interesting movie in its timing. I'm not. I'm just saying
it's the first blockbuster to be released.
Yeah, on HBO Max.
Not that too. I mean, the first blockbuster we've gotten since the pandemic.
Yeah.
Everything else got delayed so far. So
yeah.
Tenet came out, but that didn't work.
Tenet underperformed because Nolan wanted to be an asshole of not having the film be released on streaming.
Yeah,
like no, it has to be released in theaters. Fuck streaming. Well, let them die.
So there's also something to be said about known intellectual properties and the current culture of just recycling things as much as possible.
Yeah, it's in an interesting position. So I'm not sure how that's gonna affect scores, but I think it should be noted. But I'm gonna just say I feel like I'm wrong on this, but I'm gonna go lower because I think Bob went too high. What'd you say, Bob? 75?
Yeah.
I'm gonna go lower. I think it's actually probably wrong, but I'm gonna take the 69 dudes. I'm gonna be a man alone in my principles and say that this movie shouldn't be rated that high.
It's a real clever ruse you just did. Where you're like, I'm wrong, but here's my answer. So you're never actually wrong.
To his room, try the hit single "Alone in My Principles."
Alone in my principles.
All right, well, Juice, I think you owe somebody a hell skeet because Bob is 1 point off. It's a 76%.
Oh shit!
76.
Can I get a hell skeet?
Hey Bob, guess what?
Last I heard,
I
heard it was 80. So damn.
Oh yeah, so
I'm a better showman than you. I'm a better competitor.
Oh, okay.
So here we go. Ready, Bob? Hell skeet.
Oh wow, thanks,
man! I can't wait for Rob V versus Juice coming soon to a theater near you.
Oh.
Just
Tell
a lot
Mothra
of shit talking,
I said
really.
hello. All right, let's move on to the user score. Let's get Chris in here on this one. The users, there isn't. Oh no, there is a critics consensus. I'm sorry. I'm going to read that first. So the critics consensus is this: delivering squarely on its title, Godzilla vs. Kong swats away character development and human drama to deliver all the spectacle you'd expect from giant monsters slugging it out. Which sounds like Justin probably doesn't agree with that, but I should have been more.
The thing is, they said that as a negative for King of the Monsters, and this is a positive. And I'm just like, say what you will about both films, be fucking consistent, critics.
Yeah, that's fair.
I agree with you. I agree with that, but also to some extent, I've had that complaint with the last one because it seemed like they were trying to do more with the characters, and that failed. That's what it felt like to me, is that they were still trying to bring in some of that human development they had in Godzilla 2014, but they can't manage it when they're also cramming like 12 fucking kaiju in there, which is
Did anybody else have a problem with the fact that all of the monsters that they showed at the end of King of Monsters just were not relevant in any capacity?
Well, they bowed to the king.
Also, Baby. Some of them are owned by Toho, and they have a fee.
I'm just saying, consistency-wise, that's
shit. I mean, with this new Space Jam trailer, I'm surprised they didn't go for fucking property orgy again.
You mean Ready Player 2?
Yeah, Ready Player LeBron.
Actually, I haven't seen that yet. I'll have to check it out.
I haven't either.
It looks dumb, but
it looks
Space Jam.
bad.
So, all right, let's go with the user score. I'm going to start with Chris on this one. There are 5,000 plus verified ratings for this film. So, what do you think they're going to go for, Chris?
All right, so general audiences are very forgiving, but other times they get unnecessarily pissed off. I mean, look at the scores for like Last Jedi, but that's another can of worms for another can a day. I'm going to guess 70.
70, all right.
I'm going to guess 70. I feel that's very safe.
All right, 70 from Chris. All right, Juice, let's give you a chance here.
All right, I'm going to go with my gut and play into the pandemic aspect. I think people will probably get a kick out of this film. So I'll shoot higher, and I'll say 86.
86 project. All right, Bob, what about you?
I think 86 is too high. Can I take a 79, please?
79 dudes. All right. Well, everybody's gut was reasonably off for this one, but Soju came pretty damn close by comparison. Wow. This is 93%.
Wow. Damn, man. I think that is clouding these. I really do think it's clouding it.
That's crazy.
People are just stoked to get the fuck out of the house and see
probably
some spectacle shit.
They're just like, we've been just starved for a blockbuster.
Yeah.
You know, this is like, it's like being like all you were fed was just like crackers. To you, a goddamn McDonald's burger is going to be gourmet.
Well, Bob? In a year that we own, in the year after Avengers, where we have just like whatever WandaVision and things that are, you know, having their own buzz but are not big blockbuster crossovers. This is the big blockbuster crossover, so it stands to reason that had
Justin has to make a big show about something.
I think Bob has something he'd like to say. Bob,
Rob. Good job, Bob. All right, moving on.
Hell yeet.
There we go. There we go.
Fair's fair, baby.
Oh, boy.
Randy, thank you so much for killing that segment.
You're welcome.
Allow us to continue. I believe it's totally time for some trivia.
It's totally time for trivia.
So we're going to do a swerve.
Swerving.
Here. I usually handle the trivia, but we discussed this before the cast. And we have an expert on this cast.
A sex expert.
Yeah. And it makes much more sense for Chris to handle trivia this week. So, Chris, take it away.
All right. So I got a few on the back on top of my head that I actually did write on Ghoulish Media that you could just read soon as this episode's out.
There you go.
So we got a few Easter eggs from the original 1962 King Kong vs. Godzilla. The way Kong is transported is an homage to those two films. First, in the original film, he was transported from a boat, and in this film, he was transported from a boat, and then he is airlifted again for transportation. In this movie, he was transported via helicopters. In the original film, he was transported via giant balloons, making him look like a damn drunk guy. Like it's like up.
I just picture Homer Simpson as King Kong, being carted away.
I mean, fair enough. In the original movie, Kong gets drunk off berry juice.
There you go.
Oh shit!
Sweet
really?
berry wine.
I gotta watch the old one. I think I understand that it's
really
more
fun.
comedic, right?
It is intentionally. First of all, watch the Japanese film. The American version sucks.
Okay, good.
So the Japanese version is intentionally a kind of a farce. It's kind of making fun of the fact that this movie is a publicity stunt.
Okay, I kind of love that.
It's kind of meta. It's a kind of meta film. Another Easter egg of going back to the original King Kong vs. Godzilla. During the fight in Hong Kong, when Kong shoves the bone end of his axe in Godzilla's mouth, is a direct homage to one of the most infamous shot in the original King Kong vs. Godzilla, where Kong grabs a tree and shoves it down Godzilla's throat.
That's fucking awesome.
Yeah, and there are a few Easter eggs that tie in to several Mechagodzilla films with Mechagodzilla himself. Probably one of the biggest one is when you remember when they first fought and they had the beam war?
Yeah.
That where the beams collided.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay, yes.
That's literally a direct homage to in the original Godzilla vs. Mechagodzilla, where they had a beam clash. As well as there's a double Easter egg. Remember when Mechagodzilla was about to do the kiss of death on Godzilla himself? Not only is a reference to obviously 2014, where how he killed the Muto. Some people are pointing out that it may be a tribute to the original Mechagodzilla, where Mechagodzilla in a Terminator Godzilla skin breaks the jaw of another kaiju, Anguirus, who's like a friend of Godzilla.
Oh shit!
Yeah, as well. And I said earlier, the whole Ghidorah brain thing could be a tribute to the '90s film and even the manga adaptation, which I'm not 100% sure, but I don't know. Maybe Wingard's that big of a nerd as I am, so who knows? Or maybe Doherty had a point at that he's that big of a nerd.
Could be. Yeah, one of the 46 writers knew that and threw it into the stew, you know?
And another Easter egg that I've seen people bring up is how the last act is kind of like a subtle adaptation of the original Mechagodzilla, where it's Godzilla and a big furry monster. In the original film was King Caesar. In this, it's Kong fights Mechagodzilla.
Well, shit, there you go.
Yeah, a lot. One Easter egg. There are several involving the boat scene. What Adam Wingard explicitly said that the way he shot Godzilla is like the shark from Jaws. Even with the whole the boat being dragged and it going down, it's like the barrel.
I noticed that actually. Yeah, that barrel scene in particular.
Yeah, and another Easter egg with that fight is the whole Kong jumping from boat to boat as they're fighting is a lot of people are thinking, and it probably is an homage to the 8th episode of Neon Genesis Evangelion, where that's how they had to fight the monster of that episode, where they literally hopscotch from boat to boat.
It's like Frogger. Reverse Frogger.
That was so fun. I was having so much fun every time that these fucking things were interacting with each other. I love it.
Yeah, it's all like the scene from Always Sunny with Charlie Day. It's all connected. Yeah, that is my life.
This whole this all reminds me of this pro wrestling group that I saw at Fest. Rob, I think you were there for this one.
Yeah,
it's called Kaiju Big Battle.
Yeah,
which is literally dudes who dress up. You know these guys, so
I've heard of these guys.
Yeah, so they dress up in their like homemade kaiju costumes, and they put on ridiculous pro wrestling shows, and they have shoots out like where they have interviews with fucking people and whatever. It is really, really funny. And this movie kind of reminded me of that. I hadn't thought about that in a while, but these guys, this movie is just the interaction that you were describing between the allegiances and, oh, this is his friend, but he punched him in the jaw and it's got all that shit. That's the shit that I really love Kaiju Big Battle for. And this movie in particular kind of gave me those vibes at one point.
Yeah. So that's all the Easter eggs I got. I'm sure some nerds that have less than a life than I do probably found some more.
Oh, don't put yourself down.
Soju, speaking of,
I said less than a lot. I actually have a job on an actual day job.
Keep it. Lock that shit down, man. Podcasting doesn't pay too well.
Dude, I don't think that special edition's not going to come out. Not going to come cheap.
There was a lot, but some of it was that I mentioned before, like the deaf girl. She was from a deaf. She's actually deaf. She's from actual deaf family. No, I mean not really. There's some bullshit Godzilla vs. Kong was heavily teased in the post-credit scene of Monsterverse second film Kong Skull Island. I mean, there's a lot of it, but a lot of it's just not particularly instrumental. The fourth installment of the Monsterverse.
For granted. Yeah, that's fine.
Oh my god.
Are we talking cooters? Do we think there's a cooter in this movie?
Well, let's drop this segment and we can decide.
Okay.
Straight chillin'. Cooter of the week.
Cooters, Juice. Who are they? Why do we hunt them?
Let me tell you all about it. Cooter is a character type and a straight chillin' exclusive. The cooter has to hit 3 of these 5 points to be considered a cooter at all. We want the cooter with the most points. The 5 points are manipulation, smug arrogance, sexual deviancy, overall look and attire, and overall patheticness. It is the pentagram of cooter. Boys, do we have anyone we think hits on the cooter scale?
I have two nominations.
All right, Chris. Give me one.
The Apex CEO.
Okay, we don't know his name. What point do you think he hits highest on first?
Manipulation.
Okay.
Sure, yeah.
So they do this whole manipulation thing of like getting Kong to the center of the earth. He needs a home, and then he like kind of fucks them over in the end. And also he's got like his daughter down there that kind of does some of that too.
That's going to be my second nomination. Was the daughter?
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I hate her, man. God damn, I hate her.
Let's knock out the CEO first. So he hits on manipulation. Does he hit on any other points?
Patheticness. Just
overall
like
patheticness.
I guess just being a billionaire CEO, he has that smugness.
Yeah, and
smugness is its own.
Yeah, he gets his death was a literal like comedic gag.
Well, and also that's a little bit of the smug arrogance too, because the thought that he like could control this ancient radioactive rock mega Godzilla driven thing. I mean, yeah, that's some arrogant shit right there.
He's talking about how he's going to save humanity and shit, and he clearly does not. So clearly he's overly smug.
You're a capitalist. I doubt you're going to. Andy?
Yeah.
What?
He's still here.
Okay.
Randy, we lost your picture for behind the scenes.
Oh, jeez. Okay, sorry.
Now you're good.
Jeez.
But
yeah, so he definitely, I would say, the way he kind of goes out by his own creation and not being able to control it and kind of being blinded by the arrogance is pretty pathetic.
Yeah, I think that's 3 because we got patheticness, we got smug arrogance, we got manipulation, sexual deviance, not an issue touched in this movie. Look and attire, everybody in this movie looks ridiculous because they're ridiculous cartoon characters. So, I would say that's enough for me. But I do want to talk about his daughter.
Okay, so let's bring up his daughter.
Okay, here's the thing about the daughter. I will say when I went to see it with my friends and family at the theater. The one time where everyone just roared with laughter and clapped was when Kong grabbed her and crushed her. And I think everyone was just like, "Yeah, fuck her." Like
she was. Sorry, go ahead.
Because I feel like she actually could add the ridiculous attire when she had the goddamn gold Power Ranger armor when they went to the Hollow Earth.
All right,
dude, I gotta say, like a hallmark. An unofficial hallmark of being a cooter is being set up to be so despicable that it's fun to watch you die.
Yeah,
so I think that's an important thing to note here for her. And on top of that, like I hated her, but I hated her the way that like if I'm watching, again, going back to pro wrestling, if I'm watching fucking Ric Flair taunt somebody, I'm like, Ric Flair, you bastard, how could you do this? Like it's that sort of thing where it's like, of course she's fucking horrible because she's gonna get hers later, and she does, and it's great.
It's also just like I just can't stand ass. One thing I hate more than an asshole is the brown nose for that asshole.
True. So wait, it's like has his number 2 and
he's
or whatever.
Brown nose, but it is her dad.
And also, she's like incredibly like she gives off very rich kid vibes, which which is smug arrogance, and also like an easy hairpin trigger for me to hate you.
Same. Like if you want to just hate yourself and just be pissed off for the rest of the day, just look up rich kids of Instagram.
Oh, no, I can't do that.
I will never do that.
But I'll tell you, like, one thing that I keyed in on that I really kind of distills down what was so hateable about her is that she repeatedly calls King Kong a monkey, but she insists that the fucking goddamn like whatever floating helicopter things are not called helicopters but heaves by a specific name. It's like, fuck you.
As well as like our technology is you're allowed to be impressed. I'm just like,
I know
you're the giant physically impossible ape is less impressive than your goddamn Universal Studios hover car.
Yeah, exactly. That's right. That is a Universal Studios hover car. That is exactly the Transformers ride vehicle.
Can we replace the Transformers ride?
I did not like that aspect as much as Andy did. I was like Bob. I was like, this feels like a commercial.
Yeah, not impressed.
Yeah.
Personally. Wait, which part are you talking about?
The part where it's like it looks like a Universal ride.
I liked it on that level, but I like that whole. I like the idea of like them making that ride, but it's not particularly good for your movie to feel like a ride.
At least it's not as bad as the scene from Cat in the Hat.
I have not seen it, and I will not.
I don't remember that.
Where they blatantly said, like, oh, this is like a ride. And then the Cat has like, you mean a ride like from Universal Studios where he actually had the fucking pamphlet and everything?
Wow.
Someone on one kaiju Twitter, YouTuber, he made a great edit where he actually incorporated that scene in the scene in GVK where they did those scenes.
Nice.
It's fucking good.
So I think that everything that we said in terms of hitting cooter points applies to daughter cooter. So I think they kind of reflect each other.
That family lineage is it's a cooter lineage.
Yeah. Lock them up.
They breed cooters. We're locking them up. We're throwing away the key. We got the Apex.
Throw it away.
Family cooters locked up for good.
Apex cooter.
Good. That guy did not give a shit that his daughter died. Also,
in fairness, did he even knew his daughter?
Actually, that may be true. He didn't know.
Who died first?
She did.
He did.
Right?
He did. Yeah, he did.
He did.
No, she did. Okay. She did. You're right. Well, also, how do you even know?
He's just too excited about his fucking mecha boner. But
that's his real baby. That's his real child.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Which falls in line with the pathetic rich cooter douche trope. Anyway, I think we're good. We're locked up, right?
Yep, I think we're good. Let's go and let our hair down. We're talking about what we've been watching this week.
Hey, gang, what you been watching?
Hey, Randy, why don't you kick us off? What you been watching?
Well, it's another heavy week for me. I got my second COVID shot this week, my vaccine shot rather, and it knocked me out for a good day where I watched like 5 movies back to back. So I watched the Blair Witch Project for the millionth time. I love that movie. It's great. I watched Lady Bird finally, which I think lived up to the hype to some extent. It reminded me quite a bit of Pin 15, which I enjoy. I love fucking I can't remember her name I don't know why I can't remember her name, but the lady who plays her mom is such a good fucking actress. She's maybe one of the best actresses I've ever seen. I watched a movie called The Dark and the Wicked, which was a little under the radar, but I liked fine. I thought it was pretty all right.
The Strangers director Brian Bertino did that. It's on Shudder. His eye. I'm with you.
It's a Shudder exclusive, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
I didn't know it was exclusive, but yeah, there you go. Watched a show on Hulu. Was it on Hulu? Maybe Amazon Prime that Becky randomly found, and I just had to put on an episode called Mysteries of the Missing, and it's hosted by Terry O'Quinn, who played John Locke, and 2 of the 6 episodes are about missing planes, and it made me laugh. Just it's very much like a not Ancient Aliens level, but very much like the dubious History Channel sort of shit going on. Yeah. Although it's probably more credible than that. They cover Malaysian Airlines flight, whatever that was. That's the one episode that I did end up watching, and it's silly stuff, and it doesn't really break any new ground that I'm aware of. So, I have been watching Q Into the Storm. I'm caught up on that, and that's a show that you watch to be very upset. It makes me very upset for the state of our planet.
Is that the QAnon thing?
Yeah, it's about QAnon, and it's about basically the whole thing is a guy's trying to see if he can find out who QAnon is. Q, the character of
Spoiler, it's no one.
Yeah, it's more than one person, almost certainly, and it's like the way that they're painting it now. Like especially in the first couple episodes, I was like, I don't know if he's being damning enough for my tastes, but they're kind of getting there. I watched a movie called Rent a Pal with Will Wheaton. You guys heard of this one? It's a little lower profile. No. I think it's like a guy. It's set in the early 90s, late 80s. A guy picks up. He's doing video dating services. He's extremely lonely. It's about an extremely lonely guy who can't get his even video dates or whatever. So he buys a Rent a Pal tape hosted by a Will Wheaton acted character who he just becomes obsessed with, and it's really fucking sad and kind of heartbreaking by the end.
Really sad.
It is, but it's also like. Well, it's also a horror movie, so it is a horror movie. Let's see. Another sort of sad, lonely horror movie that I watch, We Have Always Lived in the Castle, which has Alexandria Daddario and the girl whose name I always forget that's in all of those fucking American Horror Story seasons. She was in the Witch season, the skinny girl.
Lady Gaga?
No. No. She's in Coven and all that, like the original Coven season, and she was in the first season. Actually, she was the daughter. I forgot about that.
Oh shit!
The Murder House daughter.
I
can't think of it off the top of my head. And it was all right. It's a Shirley Jackson adaptation, and you can really tell because it's about really isolated and really ostracized women. So there you go.
All right.
It was worth a watch, though. I didn't think it was great, but I didn't think it was terrible either. And then finally, I watched a movie just today called I Care a Lot, which I think got some good buzz recently. It's got Peter Dinklage is in it, and it's about a con artist woman who basically cons old people out of their life savings by becoming their legal guardian under the system, and she does this to the wrong person. Let's leave it at that. I think it's worth a watch. Check it out. I'll leave it there. Whew.
All right.
Solid haul. Hey, Chris, what you been watching, man?
So, in preparation of GVK, I got the Steelbook Blu-ray 4K because I actually got a PS5 and a new 4K TV.
Nice.
And I wanted to rewatch it because the one thing about 2014 that I didn't like was almost all the Blu-ray releases look terrible because somehow the transfer got fucked up. So now able to see it, it looks amazing. And it's just like, I'm like a blind man who can see. So I appreciate the film a lot more. It's still my bottom of the Monsterverse mostly because I just can't fucking stand, the blank of wood that pretends to be Aaron Taylor Johnson.
I concur, man. Fuck,
dude, he's the weakest actor in that movie, isn't it? Yeah. It's crazy that he's
so unfortunate too.
Yeah.
It just sucks too because like I liked him in Kick-Ass and I like him as Quicksilver. It's just like, what the hell happened?
Yeah. Direction.
Earlier, so me and my friends, we have a tradition where every Monday we take turns on movie night. So it was my co-host Cole's turn for movie night, and he picked Trainspotting, which was my first time watching it. And goddamn, though, it was like movie was like, it's funny. Then I'm just like, oh god, I'm scared. Especially the goddamn both baby scenes, especially the one with the where he was going through withdrawal. That shit got me hard. Yeah, exactly.
That is the worst.
Shit got you hard? What?
Yeah. Now that hard.
Like, genuinely scared. Yeah. I've been with HBO Max. I've been binge watching Harley Quinn. I've been working my way through. That show is fucking amazing.
Is it? I was thinking about checking that out.
It's hilarious. It is. If there's one thing I appreciate about DC is they're able to do stuff that Marvel won't be able to do.
Yeah, their animated shit is on point.
Yeah, it's like completely like, unfiltered. They dropped like this is the most F-bombs I've seen in a superhero film since Kick-Ass. Like, honestly, it almost feels like James Gunn had his hand in this, but surprisingly, no. And it actually makes me enjoy Harley Quinn as a character, which I was kind of getting sick of Harley Quinn overexposure from DC.
Yeah.
But this show really brought me back to the character and really I'm really glad, DC is at least trying to make her own character, not just a Joker sidekick.
Nice.
I've been watching My Hero Academia because the 5th season's out, because I'm a fucking weeb. And so far that's been pretty solid. New kaiju anime is out, SSS's Dynazenon, which is a sequel to the Gridman anime that came out in 2018. And the first episode's out. Pretty good. It's doing a lot of mystery. And the original Gridman anime was a very meta horror element at times. Without spoiling it, it actually gets pretty dark. So I'm just waiting for this show pulls the veil and gets fucking dark fucking fast. So yeah, that's what I've been watching. And, it's pretty solid stuff.
Nice. Solid list again. Juice, you got a lot to live up to. What you been watching?
I've been watching a shit ton too, so I'll try to kind of breeze through them. One, I took all of y'all's recommendations. I respect y'all's opinions, and I have checked out almost like every series or like documentaries that y'all have mentioned. I watched the Tread one, which I found like the juice was worth a squeeze on that one. That tank was bonkers. You guys have mentioned it both separately, so I won't go too much into it, but I enjoyed it for the most part. It was cool to see that crazy tank. So that was Tread on Netflix. I checked out the Gypsy Rose one where we talked about last week with Sixth Sense. That was super sad, and that girl, in my opinion, should not be in jail. Fuck that mom sideways, dude. I mean, seriously, that was some bullshit. I mean, she tried to poison somebody else. She tried to poison like her stepmom.
Oh yeah, her mom
stole. I mean, that was the biggest piece of shit I've seen in a hot minute. So fuck that bitch. She got kind of what Karma Cola got that bitch. That was some fucked up shit. So I watched that one. That was on HBO Max. And I watched the Octopus one, which was much more chill. I did enjoy that.
I would say so.
Yeah, that seaweed forest, that was fucking cool.
Nature's gorgeous, right?
It was beautiful. I loved, like, just for those shots alone. The overall story of the octopus, I was like, kind of like, but I mean, just the shots of it is worth it alone. But it did like kind of pull a little bit on the old heartstrings and stuff. But it was pretty well made.
It's a little thing that always makes it hilarious when people do like nature documentaries on animals. Like, I think this animal story kind of sucks. It's just kind of saying like, well, this animal's life is boring and uneventful.
Yeah,
it's like saying that because it's a living being. I don't know. It kind of.
Well, this guy has a fucking love affair with.
Yeah, well, and it's not. It's also like I found that guy's story. It's just it's a story. The way that they tell it, I was kind of focusing in because I was like, actually, some of these shots aren't particularly great. But I was like, they're telling this story, and they're just being good storytellers, or like engrossing storytellers. Like the way that they had it narrated in the shots of the like the seaweed forest and shit. It was just well put together. So each individual part, I feel like, was weaker than what actually came out. I liked it. It was good.
Better than the sum of its parts.
Yeah. So I mentioned I've been watching like a shit ton, and some of them will make it to the top 5 list on Tuesday, but I've been watching a shit ton of Godzilla movies. The one I did want to mention though specifically was one for Bob, but there's one that came out, I believe it's 2004. It was the one I specifically watched for that decade, and it's called Final Wars.
Godzilla, yes, Final War.
And I guess it's rebranded as Zilla, which is the 1998 version. Is that correct, Chris? Like they rebranded as Zilla
because Japan hated that movie so much.
Oh wow!
Yeah, so Zilla is in that movie. It's pretty much just this acute, like they bring all of these fucking monsters together. It's kind of
good portion, not all of them.
Yeah, no, but yeah, a lot of them, and just kind of pit them. So actually, Godzilla fights Zilla, like the 1998 version, and I found that pretty entertaining. That movie is bonkers as fuck.
Yeah, I'm excited to check this out.
No, I'm without spoiling everything. In this scene, Godzilla fights Zilla. It's in Sydney, Australia, as Sum 41 starts playing in the background.
Yeah. Are they playing Fat Lip? That'd be
no.
It's my It's My Tragedy.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I can't remember which song it was, but so
741.
I gotta watch that shit.
I wanted to mention that one specifically since that's Bob's favorite.
Thanks, guy.
Rendition of Godzilla. I've been watching a shit ton though, and it's been enjoyable and illuminating. Like I think when we covered Shin Godzilla with Chris 2 years ago, I think it was the first Japanese like Godzilla I'd seen, because then we covered Godzilla later. I'd never seen it before, so it's been interesting to kind of like dive into this like phenomenon, honestly. And so I've enjoyed it for the most part. It's been not always great, but interesting if nothing else. And then finally, the last thing I'll mention is I had talked about this before, but a couple years ago, I came home on a flight and they had True Detective Season 3 on the plane, but they only had like the first 4 episodes. So I was completely engrossed, watched 4 episodes, and then I was so fucking pissed I couldn't finish it. Now I got HBO Max, and I have had to go back and rewatch because I couldn't remember the details because it was probably about 2 years ago. And so I'm now rewatching True Detective Season 3, which I've never been able to finish.
Ooh.
I got 3 episodes in, and I'm so pleased because that first season is just so good. And I am just so happy to be back in kind of like this good realm of a true detective story that's being told. I'm really enjoying it so far. I enjoyed it before when I got to watch the first 4 episodes. I'm glad I'm almost caught up to where I was, and I look forward to probably this week going ahead and knocking out that entire season. But I am really pleased so far, and I'm so happy to finally kind of get caught up and finish that. I know I'm several years behind, but I'm enjoying it a lot. So yeah.
Tell us what you think of that when you're done. I'm curious.
I will. I actually might do a mini cast on it since it's within the horror realm. So, but I'll probably be mentioning it again next week on what you've been watching. But Bomb, let's go ahead and wrap it up. What you been watching, guy?
Not a ton for me this week. I've been blasting through Bob's Burgers. I think we're on season 7 now.
Holy shit.
The goal was to watch every episode before the end of this month because originally they're supposed to be releasing a Bob's Burgers movie in the month of April 2021. Doing some research today. It looks like the movie's been somewhat delayed. It's been pushed back, but they haven't put out a new release date for it yet. So hopefully,
damn you, Rona.
Yeah,
I wonder if that has something to do. Well, there's an aspect to the Jimmy Pesto story there that may or may not factor in.
No, I don't know, but hopefully it still comes out this year. But yeah, Bob's Burgers, great. Watch it if you haven't. The only other thing I've been watching is Creepshow season 2, episode 1 dropped on Shudder.
Oh yeah.
I checked that out.
Creepshow.
Yeah. And yeah, they release like 1 episode a week, I believe. So it's not all at the same time. But this first episode was directed by Greg Nicotero. The way this show is broken up is like each episode is an hour long, but it's 2 different stories that are about 30 minutes long a piece. The first one is about this little kid who's like way into monsters, and he and his mom watch all these monster movies, and she ends up passing away from cancer, and he's sort of being looked after by his aunt and uncle, and his uncle's a huge piece of shit. And it's a bit of a morality tale where he gains vengeance upon his uncle. It's a decent story. It definitely hits you in the feels for sure. If you were a monster kid, it hits you in the feels.
I'm definitely going to have to check that out.
And, for the creep show to hit you in the feels, that's interesting because usually they're all very like pulpy, you know.
Yeah,
very dark comedy.
It is definitely pulpy, but it's got some heart to it. The kid does a pretty decent job. The mom really fucking nails it. The second half of the first episode here is all pulp, man. It is a fucking pleasure to watch. It's basically Bob Ross versus the Evil Dead. That's
hell yeah. Hell yeah.
Is
it Craig Nicotero as well, or is it someone else?
Greg, he directs both episodes, so the creatures are on point, but it's like Ted Raimi's in the fucking episode with the Necronomicon.
Oh my god.
And he becomes a fucking Deadite. Like it is the Evil Dead. Like it's a lot of fun. Yeah.
Oh, I gotta see this. I had Shudder via Amazon Prime, but now I'm just like, I want to actually get the app itself. So now that my TV has Chromecast, I'm gonna watch it via the Shudder app because I feel like the app the site does a lot better than just the Amazon add-on.
Yeah, I think so.
You're probably right about that.
That's what I've heard. But yeah, it was a lot of fun. Check that out. It's definitely a good start to the second season of Creepshow on Shudder. That's really all I've been watching. We do have one more segment to get to. It's our Hotline Scream.
Hotline Scream.
If you are listening and would like to call in and leave a voicemail, you can do so at 904-638-3231. We have 4 voicemails this week. I believe first up, we're going to hear from the one, the only G-Baby. Let's hear what he has to say.
Yo, what's up, straight chillin' crew? Shout out to Todd. That was my best Todd impersonation. This is G-Baby. Driving, hands-free. At a moment, I thought I'd call in and get my Blockbuster take. Seeing how I'm a Blockbuster alum from, worked there from 98 to 2002-ish. Shout out to Blockbuster. That newest doc on Netflix had me feeling a little nostalgic. Man, what a great place to work as a kid who loves movies in high school. That shit was dope. Had a couple fun experiences. That quick drop where you return to movies, that thing was like the bane of my existence for the whole time I was there. It seemed like every damn time I went under there to shuck tapes, I'd get someone would just fire them in like a goddamn potato gun. Just get hit right in the forehead, right on the top of the head, and pull a Farley, and then bump my head on the top of the quick drop, and people would laugh at me. That was fun. What else? I found weed in a tape in a cassette one time. I had to shuck them, then rewind them. There was the shittiest red bud, dirt weed in there, and I was 16, so I just cracked that thing and I awkwardly poured it into my pocket and worked the rest of my shift, and then went home and smoked it. It was terrible. It just gave me a headache. What else? Oh yeah, I got 5 free movies a week while working there. That was pretty dope. In the time before streaming, a lot of young bucks don't know. Well, obviously do, but that's not the way the world worked. And it was kind of crazy too to see the change. When I started, there was still tapes, and then I saw it seemed like overnight, watching DVD just take over, and the tape, and then just one day there's no more tapes. It's kind of surreal, kind of weird. Anyway, yeah, Blockbuster was dope. A couple of all-time faves were House Guest, Bull Durham, Frighteners, obviously, Black Rain, Chinatown. Yeah, I wore those discs out. Anywho, take care, crew, and keep chilling. Hell yeah.
See, Bob, that's a warning to you. Your blues are just going to not be relevant very soon.
That's
overnight.
Depreciating by the day.
Impossible.
We'll always
That was a pretty
blues.
solid Todd impression, by the way. I thought I hit the wrong voicemail for a second.
That was
Dude, that was a good 2 p.m. Todd impression, I will say.
Solid Todd. Dude, House Guest is a banger.
Dude brought up Chinatown. I'm into that.
Yeah. Sinbad, 90s.
For everybody.
Good shit.
Yeah, he was back in the day. Be kind, rewind. Damn.
Yeah.
I don't know about that Frighteners joint, but whatever. Can't all be winners.
I think we know about it, and shit's bad.
Poor
Shit's bad.
G, baby. We did not like that movie.
Sorry, dog. Thanks for sharing your Blockbuster stories. Thanks for shucking them tapes, and sorry about that skunk weed. Hopefully you got some a little bit better when you were older than 16.
Yeah. When it got to DVDs, he was starting to get kush and shit.
Yeah, boy. Wait till you get to them 4Ks.
Dude, I'm moving into
just bath salts.
What's Betamax then?
Cocaine? Is that cocaine? I don't know.
Betamax is caffeine pills.
And laser disc.
Caffeine suppositories. You got to put them in your anus.
All right.
Blockbuster's real weird.
Whoa, hey, I'm walking here.
I watched Trainspotting, so suppositories have taken on a whole new meaning.
Tight, like your butt.
What's the next one, Bob?
Next up, we're going to hear from Todd himself. Let's hear what he has to say.
Oh, shh. Now, enough of the imitators. Here we go.
What up, chillin' crew? Ooh. Can I get a hell yeet, a hell skeet, and a yabba dabba doo? Because you know who it be. 2 p.m. Tide. Back for the attack. Part 2.5. Been way too long. Was just driving by. Beef old Brady. Thought I'd give you a call before I got too pissed off. This last episode was cracking me the hell up. Just so many things, but Randy's education of the Sixth Sense and keeping Soju up to speed with the why behind the magic of the movie was just really cracking me up. The prompt, what blockbuster memory, kind of came back around. My two, for whatever reason, that really haunted me going in there was Rawhead Rex and Basket Case. Don't know why those particular covers disturbed me so at the time, but they did. Just like the first time I watched Hellraiser at the movie theater and couldn't sleep for however long because I was afraid, even though I didn't have the Hellraiser box to open, that somehow the Cenobites were still going to come through the wall. But there you have it. Thank you guys for all you do. You keep us going week in and week out. It's been awesome to hear all the different people from the Slack calling. So keep on chilling.
There we go. Yabba dabba do indeed.
Yeah, nobody can remember your catchphrase, Randy.
Well, that's because it's
one or two
zap
people.
zowie.
What is it? You changed it. That's not what it was.
Oh yeah, it's dibbity dibbity dop.
It's like that. It's like that moment in Rick and Morty where he's like, "Oh, I totally have a catchphrase."
Yeah, that's exactly what my whole life is, except it's nicknames and catchphrases and everything else.
Bob, that sounded like Scatman, which is what we've always called you. If you didn't know, Bob's a big Scatman, so we've always
huge,
called him
big old Scatman, massive, gargantuan Scatman,
and not in the way that you would think.
In the way that you would,
in the only way to think.
But the whole like spiel about like video covers that scare the hell out of you. Yeah. Honestly, growing up, I was like the last generation with rental stores and Blockbuster. The horror section was basically the valley of hell. Like like this is where you become a man. Just walk through the horror section.
I love that.
Child's Play 2 was the cover that really gave me nightmares.
It's a good one
with the shears and all.
Yeah,
Jack in the Box. That's a good one.
Yeah. Speaking of Todd's choices, man, Hellraiser's a good one. Also, Basket Case is fucked up if you're a kid.
I was just looking that up. Yeah,
that's just scary shit, dude.
Basket, just that director's whole filmography.
Yeah, was it Frank Henenlotter?
Yeah,
he's got some fucking weird ass movies for sure. Frankenhooker. What's that? Brain damage. Yeah. Basket Case 1 through 3.
Damage, yeah. Jesus.
He's got some wild ass fucking movies. Good to hear from the real Todd. Will the real Todd please stand up? I think he just did. Next up, we're gonna hear from Nate. Let's roll tape.
Good morning, Straight Chillin' Crew. This is Naderade coming at you from the great state of Wisconsin. How are you guys doing this morning? So listen, spooky season is on its way. Halloween is 212 days away? So yeah, it's coming up pretty fast. And you know what that means? People who run haunted houses have to start their planning. What are they gonna do to scare people? What is their theme gonna be? What props do they need? All that fun stuff. my question for you guys is, if you were in charge of decorating one room at a haunted house, what would you do? Like, what would your theme be? How would you scare the customers? That sort of deal. See, my room would be pretty simple, yet hopefully effective. So here it is. The customers walk into the room, and the exit door is locked. And in the room, the lights are dim across the floor. And there sits this creepy child, just sitting in a chair, petting a tarantula. Or some scary-ass spider, I don't know what. But the child looks up from his seat, looks up from petting his spider, and he says something weird like, "This is my little friend Samuel. We have lots of friends. Would you like to meet them?" And boom, hundreds of fake spiders on strings fall from the ceiling onto the customers' heads and shoulders. They start freaking out like the little bitches that they are. Then the exit door opens up, and the spiders retract back to the ceiling. Then the customers exit and move on to the next room, which is just a tooth man burning Blu-rays in a barrel. That room is specifically for Rob. So yeah, I'm curious what you guys would come up with. Keep up the great work. Love you guys. Peace.
That
Quick
sounds
recap
like hell.
Of Rob's face. When you described that last room, this is Rob's look on Rob's face said this. Exactly that. Wow. That sounds great. Man, it's tough to come up with one on the fly. I was trying to listen and formulate an idea all at the same time. My initial instinct is to kind of go classic with it and like have sort of like slatted walls, you know, sort of like the going back to theme park rides, the Mummy queue. Whenever they do in the Mummy ride, they have like this queue that has like little slatted walls sort of between things. And in Halloween Horror Nights, they would set up, you know, a lot of scare rooms in there, or scare paths where people can like reach out and grab at you or whatever, not actually grab you or whatever. But I love that sort of thing where it's like you're trying to look on all sides. There's barriers between you and everything else, but there's going to be things jumping out and reaching out at you. I'm not sure what the theme should be of that though. Maybe it's more like mad scientist stuff where it's like mutants or something, just because I feel like that's lesser seen.
For me, I think the one environment that scared me very recently is the Baker home from Resident Evil 7. Mostly because that shit is real, you know. Say what you will about the, you know, the goop monsters and the regenerative hillbillies, but I think that kind of like old school, like, you know, kind of like swampy southern gothic decrepit home creeps me the fuck out, both in terms of environment and just like, I'm a Mexican. I'm probably the darkest skinned person in like 30 miles. And they're not going to like that.
Yeah, that's very like Americana too. Like
that really dark horror. Americana, as well as just that decrepitcy, which is, you know, my OCD as well. It's like, you know, every single object has tetanus. So, and it also just would work very well to hide, you know, the scare actors, because it's already in this, you know, disarray.
Yeah.
You know, it would be real easy to create a scare room that actually would scare Bob. All you'd have to do is just fill it with holes. Just all kinds. Just put Bob in a honeycomb and his ass is.
Honestly,
that's fucked up.
Like a monster bee room theme. Like imagine like, I don't know, xenomorphs, but they're like bees.
There you go. Yeah. Well, you could do that.
I like actually Randy's idea, and that's kind of where my mind went to, because you have like haunted houses, you know, the zombies and the ghosts and like typical things that you would see. But to play off people's real fears, the first thing I actually like Naterade's kind of idea, my mind immediately went to kind of like a misty kind of forest. But recently I posted this picture of this guy with this giant spider on his face, which is real or whatever, like a pet spider that's not deadly or whatever, and that shit really makes people squirm. So if you could even incorporate this type of like ASMR, but with like the sound of bugs crawling, and you can have like buckets of like clear boxes with like real bugs in them,
Babadook,
and create this real style of like people feel that shit like on their skin. I think that could be really effective to play out people's real
it's a fucked
fears.
up placebo effect.
Yeah. That you don't see in Haunted House a lot. So when he was describing that, I was like, that's a cool idea, but I would just lean into the psychological idea of the bugs.
Yeah, like hell,
like that. Yeah.
Hell, like pet shops get that feeling from people. So just basically convert a pet shop into a horror maze.
Yeah, even if you have to feed like lizards and stuff like that, they keep crickets and little things. I mean, you could make a bug style haunted house easily, and it would really affect people. That's why I liked Randy's idea with the holes, like playing off people's psychological horror. That's pretty cool.
A quick story about spiders. One time I went on a cruise, a family cruise or whatever, and we went to, I think it was the Virgin Islands. I've been to a couple, but, and I was following far behind the others as we were kind of walking around town, and it's an extremely steep decline that I was going down, and I am not sure-footed at all, so I was taking it real slow. And this, local was walking by, and he's like, "Oh, you need a hand or something?" I was like, "No, I think I'm good." And as I looked up and looked at him, I realized there's a giant goddamn spider on his shoulder that I thought was a shirt design on his shirt. And I was like, "Ugh!" And I was like, I almost fell on my ass and rolled down a hill in another fucking country. It was terrifying. So yeah, that shit's real.
Also, that bug maze, we should have Pearl Jam's Bug play in the background.
I think I'd go real simple with my room, because the thing that always fucks me up the most going through haunted houses is like people jumping out at you, which is like, it's just a jump scare. It's real classic, it's real simple, but I'm super jumpy, so it fucks with me every time, very consistently. If you just like fill a room with fog and like have a bunch of mirrors, where you just can't really orient yourself, you can't see exactly what's happening, and then just have people jump out from behind the mirrors and just fucking terrify me time and time again.
Well, that reminds me, when the last time we went to Halloween Horror Nights, the Universal Monsters, the most effective room was with the Phantom of the Opera, where it was like a maze of mirrors, and you don't know where. Like they obviously the trick is they had multiple Phantom actors, but it's like you couldn't keep track of him because he's walking through the mirrors and then he disappears.
Yeah, that would fuck me up. Also, then just like dump a box of fake roaches on my head and then I'm fucking done.
Dude, I was just thinking to myself, like, what if you had just like, because there's all this buzz around the idea of liminal spaces, and they made that, I mentioned that game Super Liminal recently and all stuff, which is all about just sort of like back rooms and rooms that you don't actually stop to look at very much. Yeah. Having this weird like backstage sort of feeling room that's just kind of industrial and has shit, and have it be like dimly lit with flickering lights or whatever, and have it be somewhat normal as you walk through, and then like halfway through they have like little like spider things rigged up on the floor to sort of like dart around and just be just outside of your range of vision, and have shit and do that sort of thing, and then have a couple of scare actors at some point towards the end. I think that would work really well too. This is a fun conversation. Good job, Nate.
Yeah, we should pose that for next week. Yeah, good call, Naderade. How about call in with your haunted house ideas?
Yeah, what's your scare room?
We'll discuss them more next week.
How would you scare some motherfuckers? It sounds like Nate needs to put in an application with old Russ McCamey at McCamey Manor, because fuck.
Oh my lord,
that spider room sounds fucked up. We got one more voicemail to get to. Let's hear from Logo.
Good evening, gentlemen. Not a long-time listener yet, but a first-time caller regardless. I know how it works around here, though, so I am inebriated. I did want to give Bay a shout-out because I know he's listening. I love you, Diego. And thank you to the Slack homies for encouraging me to call. To answer the prompt, the question, I actually was not allowed to watch scary movies growing up, but I was not able to watch the live-action Grinch movie by my own choice. Until I was an adult, because it gave me major nightmares like clockwork every single time I watched it. I also still have a no ghost movies rule, because that show, a haunting about like true ghost stories, like fucked me up as a kid to the point that I slept in my sister's bed for an entire year. But I hope you guys had a wonderful weekend. I hope y'all enjoyed Kong versus Godzilla, and I cannot wait to facepalm when I hear this later. Bye.
I think it's pretty hilarious. Like, I know she misspoke or whatever, but when she said she slept under her sister's bed, I was like, damn, I guess if you look into the abyss, you really do. The monster owns you.
Yeah.
That's some funny shit. Thanks for calling in, Logo. It's great to hear from you. You've been chatting in the Slack, and it's always cool to hear from people for the first time calling in.
And Nate just joined us on Slack recently, too.
Yeah,
it's growing.
Yeah, that's true, too.
Mm-hmm. Growing every day. Slack has actually been popping the fuck off.
Yeah, we had some
week.
good discussions about Batman Forever, let me tell you.
Yeah, like I looked at my phone
Bat
last
nipples
night,
and all,
and there was like a couple hundred messages that I missed. I was like, holy cow. I got some reading to do. Also, like, it's not mandatory to be inebriated when you call, but it is encouraged, I think, maybe. If you
as long as you're not driving.
It's like,
way to
don't
see why
2 p.m. Todd. That
Be inebriated responsibly.
Right. Yeah. Don't put,
look, if you're going to drink and drive, please remember to tell the cops that we told you to do it.
Soju, go arrest him. He lives in Korea.
I literally just said don't do it.
Nobody believes that. Nobody.
Yeah.
Thanks for calling, Logo. Good to hear from you for sure. That's going to do it for our hotline scream. Again, if you are listening, hit us up at 904-638-3231. Let us know how you would terrify people if you ran a haunted house. Chris, it is always a pleasure having you on, man. It's really fun talking kaiju movies with you.
So glad to be back with you guys. So glad. It's always a blast. Even if we disagree in fun.
Yeah, respectfully disagree.
It's always always a good conversation, man. And I can't believe it's been like 2 years since we had you on. Hopefully, we're gonna get you on before another fucking 2 years. That's
Skull
crazy.
Island.
Yeah.
Dude, just bring me. If it's just a monster movie in general, just bring me on.
Yeah, deal.
We covered 14, right? Did we cover Godzilla 2014?
Yeah.
Okay, I thought
we did,
so.
Yeah.
Hell, I wish I was on for the Rawhead Rex episode.
Oh, fuck. Yeah.
A missed opportunity.
Oh, yeah.
It's just a big old dick monster. But yeah, thanks again, brother. If you want to remind everybody where they can find your show one more time.
Yep. Yeah, you can look up GargantuaCast. It is wherever you get your podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Google Play, Spotify, Stitcher. We're on the big platforms. I'm also the kaiju editor / writer for Ghoulish Media. You can go check out our new website that launched not too long ago, where I do some writing as well as I'm in charge of all the kaiju side of the site. With our fellow writers, we have a great crew of writers. We did a whole bunch of articles leading up to GVK where I wrote my own review for the film, where like my fresh thoughts, as well as we did articles on the legendary but fake double ending for the original King Kong vs. Godzilla. We did an editorial, like retrospective on the Monsterverse by different writers and their perspectives. So many good stuff. Please check out my crew. And yeah.
Awesome. Check all that shit out. Check out GargantuaCast and Ghoulish Media. That's going to do it for us here at Straight Chilling. We're going to be back next week with a brand new show as always. It's a new quarter, second quarter 2021. That means we're going to be jumping into the second batch of Patreon picks. First up, we're going to be talking at Blood Diner, as was chosen by the motherfucker himself, Jim G. Baby.
G. Baby, I hope this is some redemption.
Blood Diner.
I'm excited to revisit Blood Diner. Blood Diner.
The last one he picked the Frighteners?
I don't remember. I'd have to look at the book. It might have been.
He's always sleeping in.
Mm-hmm.
Now I wonder who released this movie on Blue that Rob either owns already or going to have to buy. Was it Arrow? Was it Shout Factory, or was it Vinegar
Stroke?
It was Vestron, actually.
Dark horse in the race.
Yeah, so treat yourself to that sweet baby Blue. It's worth it. Slam your eyeballs in the Blood Diner.
Rob is the reason Grindhouse Video is afloat.
I believe that.
Love Grindhouse Video.
Rob
Good shit.
Just supports that shit financially, year in and year out.
Yeah, it's a Florida-based business, and they do great work. Buy their shit.
If Bob stopped by and they start calling, they'd be worried about his ass. What happened to Bob? Is he okay?
They'll literally call They'll call the cops at his address.
We lost our cherry.
Something's wrong.
Save this man. Do whatever you can.
I'm sending blues now.
They use Blu-rays as a defibrillator.
They use them as smelling salts. Just crack a fresh one open.
The hurricane got him. If only he had a jet ski to save him.
Yeah, that's never. Slam your eyeballs in a blood diner. Get ready for next week's show. Until then, please rate, review, and subscribe to us on iTunes. You can follow us on Twitter at STR8_chilling, on Instagram at Straight Chilling Podcast. You can send us an email through our website, straightchillingpodcast.com. If you want to join in on the daily Slack channel conversations, just let me know on one of our social media outlets, and I'll send you a link so you can join in on the fun. And until next week, as always, all you mother truckers, please keep chilling.